All right, good evening. My name is Michael Muddett, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission of Monroe. Today's date is November 18th. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to introduce the members of the commission and staff that are present tonight, starting on my far right with Commissioner Pete Oliva. On his left, we have Commissioner Megan Hayden, who's our treasurer. To her left is Jason Grady, who's our vice chair, Mike Muddett, chairman. To my left is John Bath, our esteemed chairman emeritus. And to his left, Lois Spence, who's our secretary. We have Donna, who's our inland wetlands coordinator, and we have Scott, who's our town engineer and wetlands enforcement officer. Okay, before we start, I'd like to quickly read our mission statement and how the meeting will proceed tonight. The objective and purpose of the Inland Wetlands Commission is to provide the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. In the normal course of our meetings, we will hear public hearings and other applications. Protocol of public hearing is to have the applicant make a presentation or representation to the commission, which afterwards the commission will be asking the applicant questions. The commission will then review town and staff and other independent comments. The meeting will be opened up after that, the meeting will be opened up for public comment. I'll ask that all comments be made to the chair of the commission. After that, all comments pro, opposition, and of general nature are made. The applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. It is not necessary for the applicant to respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There'll be no further opportunity for new questions unless new material is entered into evidence during the testimony of the response. Please keep any comments, pro, cons, specific to inland wetlands matters. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
No changes. Okay. All right, our next agenda item is actually a special agenda item for tonight. We have an appreciation award for one of our longtime commission members and former chairmen, Mr. Jack Bath. And I'd like to acknowledge our first selectman, Steve Vavrick, to present our appreciation.
You have new chairs. Have a good night. Come on down. Come on down here. So seriously, those of you who've been in the town hall for many years know that the chairs that used to be up there were from 1972. So we saved a lot of money over a lot of time, but then volunteers started really complaining that, I mean, they always gave me the crummy chair, so I'm used to it. But these guys that do the hard work day in, day out, night in and night out, I think they deserve some new chairs, and we got them at quite a bargain too, so I was very happy. But I actually have to thank Vita Stone for that, because we finally got a good price. It took a long time, and it took a lot of, like anything else, politics. Well, I like the black one, I like the brown one, I want a gold one. We all decided on these, and they are fairly comfy, right?
Yes.
So I don't have to do this anymore because John has decided to stay on for another 20 years. But John, since 1987, he's been sitting in these chairs. The old chairs. And, you know, we thought about that long and hard, but John, whereas John Bath was appointed to Monroe Inland Wetlands Commission in 1987 with the commission's inception, so he's been here since the beginning. And whereas John served as chairman for many years during his 28 years on the Inland Wetlands Commission, and whereas John has served the town of Monroe with distinction and honor, and whereas the town desires to recognize his many contributions to our community, now therefore I, Stephen J. Vavrick, first selectman of the town of Monroe, Connecticut, do hereby proclaim today, Wednesday, November 18th, is John Bath Day, and call upon all our citizens to congratulate John and thank him for his dedicated service. So stated this 18th day of November, 2015. Wife Ann has also been with us for a very long time in the library. She's since retired. So I know John's passion. I know Ann doesn't share that passion. It has to do with a little bit of a swing. But I know where I'll be seeing this guy for the next few years. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, Jack's making his way back up here. I'd like to also mention that there are agendas up at the front table, so feel free to grab a copy. Okay, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the minutes of October 14th, 2015. Everyone's received them. I will entertain a motion. The motion approved by Jason. Wait a second.
Second?
Second by Megan. Are there any edits or changes?
Yes. On page 6, we're on October 14th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. On page 6, on the very bottom paragraph, it says that the application be submitted for review. It should be prior to the subsequent hearing. And on page 8, on the first significant paragraph, the very last line, says, from a certified specialist before the next hearing, it should probably be meeting for deliberations. And that's it.
Okay. Jason, maybe you accept those edits?
Yes.
Here, is there any other changes or edits? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. That passes unanimously. Next item is the minutes of October 28th, 2015. I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve with edits.
Motion to approve by Lois,
Second.
second by
I don't know where I put it.
and go ahead, Eds.
Did you find something?
No, it's Peter O'Neill.
Peter.
He's second.
This is,
The 28th,
yes, the 28th. Mhm.
third page. I know Mike is the chairman, but he's also the vice chairman on this.
Oh, cool.
Page 3,
He occupies many shoes.
Double rolls. Yeah, that's
Which paragraph, Jeff?
the fourth to last.
fourth one from the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that should be graded.
Yeah.
That's correct, that should be changed to grading.
Vice Chair Brady. Yep.
That's motion.
There was one other, and I'm not sure what the actual date is, but on the very last page, we have that the public hearing is scheduled for the regulation amendments. The hearing is scheduled for 12/19. It should be 12/9, but from what I see, it's not that going to be either. It's been changed again, so I'm not sure what it should be, but it's not the 19th.
Just
So-
tentatively scheduled.
Okay, all right. Public hearing TBA, how's that? Okay, that was it.
Okay, are there
Good
any
job.
any other changes? Hearing none, all that are in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
We always stick a couple
Oh, sorry.
things in there to make sure
Yeah,
you guys
one
read it.
Yeah, there is one abstention.
One abstention.
It's approved. Yeah.
I just read it.
Okay. The next portion of our agenda is public participation. This time we open up the floor to anyone who'd like to speak on wetlands-related issues to the board. Can't promise that we can answer any questions tonight, but we'll take everything under advisement. Is there anybody who'd like to speak on a wetlands matter? Please come up to the mic and introduce yourself with name and address. The only thing I mentioned, if there are any of the comments are related to an item on the agenda tonight, we'll open up the floor to that.
Patrick O'Hara, 282 Shelton Road. It's kind of a wetlands comment. I'm currently the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I wanted to stop for a second and say, Jack, thank you very much for your 28 years of service. I've only been the chairman for a couple of years, but on behalf of all the predecessors, a lot of the work that you do ends up going over to planning and zoning as part of the application process. And so thank you very much for your 28 years of protecting the environment of the town of Monroe as we are balancing our conservation and our development. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be brief. Jeremy Hayden, 19 Birchwood Road, Monroe, Connecticut. Mr. Bath, thank you very much for your service, sir. It was a pleasure learning from you and serving with you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 2 in our agenda, application hearing determinations, for which there are none tonight. So we'll move to item 3, subdivision reports and recommendations to town planning and zoning, and there are also none tonight. Sorry.
One thing I should point out, and as you said it, I'm just realizing that, actually for the record, the application for 64 Cambridge Drive, which is on the agenda, does include the subdivision referral. It's a re-subdivision. So I apologize, that should be on there under subdivision reports.
Okay.
That's IWC 2015-19, 64 Cambridge Drive.
Okay. And we'll hear both of those during its time in the regular activities. Okay, moving to item number 4, regulated activities, regular hearings. Our first regular hearing is IWC 2015-12, 54 Gardner Road, regulated activities associated with the construction of a single-family dwelling, associated site improvements, Palmer. This is reconvened from our 10/20/2015 meeting.
If that's on ours, I memorized it, it's down here.
Bill Carboni, Spath York and Associates, representing the Mr. Palmer and his application. I'm a registered professional engineer. At the last meeting, it was held open for preparation of a planting plan for both the areas near along the limit of disturbance and for the rain garden. In between these meetings, we've had Jim Cowan of EPS prepare a planting plan, which I believe you've all received, and it's on the map. I'll have Jim explain what it is entails.
Thanks, Bill. For the record, James Cowan with Environmental Planning Services. I'm a registered soil scientist and certified professional wetland scientist. I conducted a site visit on November 3rd. The purpose of the visit was to assess the invasive species on the site and the potential location of a rain garden to prepare planting plans. The invasive species on the site close to the wetland in the wooded area are primarily Japanese barberry. And they're fairly small, scattered. I could see across the wetland to the other side, and they're pretty common all the way around the wetland. But they're not dense and they're not large. So they're relatively, but there's not much understory in the woods. So they are noticeable, but along the opening, where it's open around, which would be pretty much coincide with the limit of disturbance. Because of the openness, there are other invasives there. There's multiflora rose. There's some rather large autumn olive that 15 feet tall or more, so they take up a lot of space. And some bittersweet. In addition, there are a couple of herbaceous invasives. There's garlic mustard in the woods, and in the open areas, there's one that may not be familiar to you. It's just been put on the list a few years ago, and that's black swallowwort. And it In the growing season, if you were to break open the leaf, it would have a milky sap. It's in the milkweed family, but it's a vine, and it does have milkweed-type pods. In my experience, it's very difficult to control. It's mostly going to be in the open areas. It's a sun-loving species, so I'm not anticipating it to be a major player in the buffer area to remain. I'm sure the homeowner in managing their lawn and home landscape, they'll deal with it as they would with any other weedy type species. So I'm not, so what I recommend before planting is that an environmental professional tag and work with whoever's the contractor in terms of removing the invasive species. In terms of the woody species, our standard practice is to cut them to the base and then paint the base with a herbicide. If they're small enough, they can be hand pulled, but in my experience, if you leave any root fragments, they'll regrow. So surgical application of herbicide is the best method. And if there are any patches of the herbaceous invasives that are accessible, they can be treated if it looks feasible, but if they're just too widespread, I don't recommend just broadcast application of herbicide. I think that does more harm than good. Being there in November, I really couldn't assess how dense those populations would be, so I think it would be a field decision. And I wouldn't recommend putting a success standard on the herbaceous species. But I think removing the woody invasive species would be easy to monitor and manage. It may take a couple of applications. You get most of them the first time, but you may have to do a follow-up application of herbicide or other treatment. So with that in mind, what would be the benefit of a buffer planting? In my experience, the area that's most vulnerable is the open edge, the limit of disturbance. You're opening the soil there, and there's more sunlight there. That's where new invasives are likely to take hold. So, and that's also where we have some of these large autumn olives. So we'll remove those invasives, and that will create an opening. There's a proposed fence, and so behind the fence we would do plantings and in groupings, and you'll see that I have groupings that are strategically located where the wetland's closer to the fence, closer to the limit of disturbance, and then also where there's a footing drain on either side of that, where there may have to be an opening. That may not require much removal of tree canopy, it's unclear. These would obviously be field located. And I have put in a mix of species that are sun-loving as well as some that are shade tolerant. So depending on where the trees are that will be saved along the limit of disturbance, we will plant around the native trees and shrubs that will remain. I've also selected and put in bayberry, which is one of the few that is deer resistant. The deer just do not eat it, so it's a good edge plant that has fruit that wildlife really appreciate. So in addition to the buffer planting, I've done a planting plan for a rain garden, and that's located within an existing cellar hole on the property that has slumping slopes. It's not vertical, so and there's actually a sapling growing in the bottom, which is an indication that the water does drain out of it. There was no standing water when I was doing my field visit, but the bottom is fairly unvegetated, at least in terms of shrubs. There are some around the upper edge.
Jim, can you point out where that is? Is it?
Yep, okay. This is the, I don't know if the cellar hole was what the square represents. Is that, Phil, is that essentially the cellar hole, or is that,
The square that's on there is the limits of a temporary sediment basin, and we're draining the site into that as part of the short-term erosion control, and that would be converted to a rain garden.
Yeah, I guess what I'm confused about is the I mean, aren't you referring to, aren't you referring to that?
No, that is a separate,
No, he's talking about the cellar.
yeah,
I mean, he's talking about putting plantings in your rain garden area.
right, the concrete cellar that you're talking about is in here. It has a pump in it. That's to be removed during the project. This is another cellar that was over here for a
That's what I was
colonial
looking
building
for,
or
to clarify that for the fall.
a much older building. I don't think it's colonial, but it's certainly older than this, which is a cinder block and cement. No, this is a separate
Yeah,
area.
I was looking for you to clarify it for the record.
yeah. And it's not stone retained. It's partially stone retained, but it's also got openings. But because it's rather steep slopes, we're proposing to have extensive shrub plantings along the edge and a few shrubs in the bottom. So it'll be clearly outlined and protected so nobody accidentally walks into it. And those plantings will also have all native plants, will have wildlife value. And in an event where, if there should be an event where it fills up, those roots would provide additional filtration. I envision that they'll be planted on the slope, not at the top, but along the slope where they're going. Again, they'll need to be field located because the edge of that foundation hole or cellar hole is rather irregular. And I think partly because it's been so old that it's slumped in and so forth. But it's stable. It's not like it's going to cave in. It's, and then we would put in some shrubs in the bottom and an erosion control seed mix which can tolerate both wetness and dryness. Again, I don't anticipate that this would have water in it for very long given its current condition. I'd recommend putting in 4 inches of compost just to provide some additional nutrients. And then have all the trees and shrubs sprayed with deer repellent initially and as needed.
Jim, you're providing some good testimony and some recommendations. I'm thinking in terms of trying to document that for the file so we can move on. Have you put that in any written format?
I have both a letter and the planting plan with plant notes which spell out.
And that goes into what you were just saying as far as invasive removal and things like that?
Correct, yeah.
Good, okay.
Yeah, has the commission received the letter?
I believe we sent it with a map. Your report.
We didn't get that one then.
All right, let's see, what's the date? of it?
My one was dated November 5th.
Was this with your original submission?
No, with the second submission
All right, so,
after the last hearing.
all right, so let's see.
I'll be happy to put my copy in the record.
Perfect.
But yes, it is all spelled out.
Yeah, here
Yeah,
it
they
is,
have
it's
it.
exhibit
Yeah.
number 7. Okay. I just want to make sure we have that for the record.
Get that.
Very good.
It's a one-page letter and then another page, which is the planting plan and the plant notes.
now's the time to make sure we have it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Pardon me, I assumed that you, had it.
well, we did.
So, couple of questions.
Fine.
Sure.
With that being used as a temporary sedimentation basin, is there any cleanup that will go in after this temporary sediment is removed to restore it? Or are you concerned about that in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, after construction is complete and the site is stabilized, any sediments that have accumulated in there would be removed. Then they would put in the 4 inches of compost that Jim spoke of. One other modification we made to the plan is we had these recharge here on the new plan. We have taken the roof leaders and also directed them into the rain garden because it has more than sufficient capacity. And there's no reason to cause that much disturbance over here. So we will just take the footing drains over there also.
And I have made reference to that in the plan notes. If you look at number 7, when the sediment basin is no longer needed, remove the sediment to prepare it for constructing the rain garden. The rain garden should be amended with weed-free compost. And then I also have 2 notes on the compaction. If compaction has occurred during the removal of sediment, that the soil be refractured to make sure that it's broken up. As you probably know, the biggest enemy of rain gardens is compaction. And so, and that can happen during sediment removal, but because this is deep, it's unlikely to happen. You're not going to have any equipment down in there. It will all have to be done from the side.
With a backhoe to reach in, so we won't have any tracks on the bottom.
But that's just standard notes that I put in the video compaction that the contractor's obligated to refracture the soil.
Great. The other question I had was, and I understand that a lot of the plantings on the buffer will be field located with the plants that are existing. Is there any proposed plan for around plants? Because I mean, obviously, if the plants are growing and maturing, is there any leaf litter or compost or seed mix that will be placed around the plants to prevent invasives from taking hold there?
I have recommended that there be a seed mix where there is disturbed soil.
Okay. Yeah, if it's not disturbed, then it's
If
fine.
it's undisturbed, you leave it alone. Because when you disturb soil, you stir up the invasives and any weeds that are in there. So there is, yes, there is a seed mix.
I believe it's on the plan,
Should be on the plan.
I think I saw
which is
that.
on the bottom. I didn't blow it up.
Yeah. The other question I had was, I think we covered this last meeting, but you are planning on posting the signs for conservation, not conservation, but protected area, regulated
The
area?
regulated area will go along the fence that we are proposing along here. I believe it's every 75 feet over at an angle point.
Thank you.
The areas that you have marked as being where the buffer plantings are going to be, are they pretty much where you're removing like autumn olive and stuff like that? Or are they, is that just kind of a random placement? And I realize it's going to be field located, but I was wondering if some of those plantings could be put on the inside of the LOD instead of on the outside of the LOD.
My understanding in terms of the design is that to have them on the back side of the fence, closer to wetlands, so that the fence would identify the edge of the yard.
Okay. Will we be removing native flora in order to put those plantings in?
No, and I think, item number 6, my plant notes, at the limit of disturbance, protect existing native trees to the extent feasible, and to use orange construction fencing if needed.
Well, how about the herbaceous species? I mean, that's trees, which is great,
Yeah.
but
And I would be happy to add shrubs, trees and shrubs. Herbaceous species, your limit of disturbance It's usually, you have to do some grading.
I see, but I thought the limit of disturbance would be where the grading ends.
Right, so up to the limit of disturbance
Mhm.
on the development side, that would be planted with whatever ornamental landscape. But at the limit of disturbance, a split rail fence, or whatever kind of fence, a split rail fence will go in. And then, you know, sometimes there you have a little bit of soil disturbance. You can't exactly get the split rail fence on the limit of disturbance, it'll probably be a little bit inside. And so the intention is that the plantings, the trees and shrubs would go in where the invasives come out.
Mhm.
And this is, the masses that I have on the plan are approximate locations. I just, for instance, this one here is probably closest to the wetland, so I would like to see some plantings in this area. But there may be, the limit of disturbance wasn't staked in the field, so I couldn't really tell exactly where it was. So I'm approximating. So I would like to see a tree and shrub. And you can see in my list here, I have a combination of sun-loving and shade species, and they can be moved around as needed, but the intention is to have reinforce and supplement the plants here by removing the invasives and then plant native trees and shrubs. Mostly what I proposed is shrubs for the buffer, and there are some trees that will go and larger shrubs in this area for the footing drain, but it's primarily shrubs.
I'm trying to get applicants to actually use two different nomenclature. One line to say limit of disturbance and another line to say limits of approved maintenance, because it's confusing. You know, you could have a situation where there could be a limit of disturbance that goes well beyond the limit of approved maintenance, so that they can get something done like that footing drain, where you don't want them mowing it and maintaining it in the future. So hopefully I can get people to, we can get that on the final plan.
We had discussed this. In this case, they're fairly close. The only thing that's,
Yeah, they are.
is not is this area over in here where we have the footing drain going up. So in this, Scott and I had discussed what we're gonna call it, but in this case, because it's a small usable lot, they're pretty much synonymous. The location of this LOD, again, is gonna be adjusted in the field to go around trees. We're not gonna take trees out to put a fence in, but this will vary, but in general, it's along that line. And again, the shrubs are gonna go at the daylight line, or so, because that's where they apparently take off, is they, at that sun line. So that's the intent of this.
Thank you.
Any other commission members have any questions?
If there's any other questions, I believe this was held open just for the presentation of this plan. So unless there's other questions, we were just asking for approval of the wetlands permit for the construction of this house.
Is there any staff comments that haven't been addressed on this presentation?
No, actually, there's not.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And if there's no other testimony, I'll consider this regular hearing closed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we proceed, maybe I'm noticing that there's people out here, and I think they're waiting for some of these other applications. I think that we have a couple of postponements. I'm wondering if I could just read those now, and that way they don't have to sit around waiting. I mean, they're certainly welcome to say it's a public meeting, but
That's fair.
if that's the only reason they were here. So on the agenda, under public hearings, the first one is, noted one is IWC 2015-14, which was 224 Guinea Road. We've received an email requesting that the start of the hearing be postponed, and I believe they've granted an extension to do so, correct? Or,
It's not to, they're supposed to be reconvened from the 28th,
oh, I'm sorry.
and so they've granted an extension to the commission to leave it open?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so the next one is, so that will not be heard this evening. The next one is IWC 2015-16, which is 28 Purdy Hill Road. This was a remediation, and it was also a reconvening from the 10/28/15. Closing the hearing date is 12/2/15, so an extension was granted to keep that hearing open, and they've asked for that to be postponed and to be reconvened at that time. Again, that's 28 Purdy Hill Road, and so that won't be heard this evening. The next one is IWC 2015-1427 Monroe Turnpike. That one is scheduled to open tonight, and they've requested a postponement of that. I had a number of comments that went out to them. I had a conversation with their engineer today, and he indicated that he's still waiting for information from the soil scientist, and he still needs to address a number of my comments. So he asked that that not open until the 9th. So again, that's 1427 Monroe Turnpike, and that will not be heard this evening either.
Thank you, Scott. All right, the next item on the agenda is a regular hearing, IWC 2015-18, 46 Cutler Farm Road, regulated activities associated with the construction of a single-family dwelling. Knoll? This is the opening of the public hearing. Oh, sorry, regular hearing.
I got it.
Is that the one you want?
Yeah.
And you could load up the other ones too. There's a mouse there too for you.
Yeah, it's right behind.
Right behind the,
David, it might need to be turned on. Stand on the new chair.
that'll make it a little easier for you.
Bill Carboni with Spath York Associates, representing Mr. Knoll for the 46 Colors Farm Road. This was a subdivision that was approved. If I can get this up to a reasonable size,
You want it
Hold
blown
on a
up?
second.
75.
I don't know what that says.
It just, it's an invalid numeric number.
Big enough?
Yeah. In 2007, during the subdivision process, a wetlands permit was issued for this project. When we originally submitted this year, there were no activities proposed in the regulated area, this red line being the regulated uplands. There was no grading in this area. However, Scott said that it really wasn't efficient use of the site, and he recommended that we come in for a wetlands permit to allow this grading in this area. It is only grading, there is no structures or pavement within the regulated area.
Just a clarification on that. What I had said was, the plan came in, and the way that they graded and were developing, they had the house so close to the limit of disturbance that I didn't think it was practical. I mean, they couldn't even put a ladder against the side of the house. So I suggested that they submit an application and come in with something a little bit more practical.
Which is what this represents. And now there is like an 18 feet area here from the side of the house into the regulated uplands. And it is believed that this is a much better solution that makes it a lot more usable. What we are proposing again in this area is that there will be a wetlands markers along this line of disturbance, again, every 75 feet or at angle points. During the process, especially before we were coming in for a wetlands permit, clearing was done in this area and in the upland area and the non-regulated area. However, there has been now disturbance into the regulated area represented by this shape right in here. What used to be 18 feet from the into the regulated area is now like 32 feet, almost doubling what was in there. The total disturbance originally was going to be 1,321 square feet. It's now up to about 2,130 square feet. In addition to the disturbance right in here, a large tree fell during a storm approximately in the location of that stone wall. A machine was brought down and that tree was lifted out. However, it has left some machine tracks down this area right in here. So as part of this application for the house, we are also proposing some remediation area measures be made. Trees that were cleared out of this area are stacked over on the side of the lot here. We are proposing that these trees be chipped and along where the silt fence is proposed, a wood chip berm be built on the uphill side of it. Also, where these tracks are brought down in here, a combination of these wood chips and leaves and other leaf litter be brought in just to stabilize the things. The track marks are not that significant, but they are there, and we do feel that they should be remediated. They aren't large enough to require any regrading or anything like that. It's just put some chips down to stabilize the soil until the vegetation and grasses can grow back in next spring.
Bill,
Yeah.
for the record, I wanted to get in for the record that, isn't there, I saw another tract area, over in this area too. There was one that came down here, and another one over here, a tree was pulled out over here as well. You see that?
No. We're aware of the main one. the one-
Yeah, this was a little bit more pronounced, but this over here, there was another area. This one, the vehicle looked like it, the backhoe looked like it went down and literally crossed the wetland, because the tree, you can see that it was on the other side. This one here, there was something on this side, and there's actually a part of the tree is still down, and there's like a hole there that it dug or something, and there's an area in here that's been disturbed.
That's quite possible. We saw this one, and I believe the tree, he's got a very large backhoe on the site, and which has a hook on it. So because there are not any drag marks in this area, we believe he went down and picked it up and brought it out, which still leaves drag marks, but not skid marks. We did not see this one. Again, if that's there, we would recommend the same thing, to stabilize it with the wood chips that would be used, taking the tree out, chipping them all, and again, stabilize this area over in here. I think the vegetation, when it grows next spring, will take care of it, but for the winter, we would recommend the chips be brought in there. The applicant has also agreed to put a row of boulders along this area right in here, which is now the limited disturbance. The boulders being there to be a demarcation of limit of occupation for the house. And along that LOD line, or the boulders would extend from the property line here to the tree, this is the tree line here, till it reaches the tree line there, just so we have a demarcation. We will have also the markers be put in along that boulders. But,
There you go, it's up. I don't know.
okay.
IT issues.
In any case, before these work in the regulated area, it was a relatively simple thing. We have a minimal amount of disturbance into the regulated area. It's all fitting in there. We came back with just a minor encroachment into the regulated area. And now, in addition to that, now we have some remediation of work that was done to remove fallen trees. If you have any questions as to what we're proposing, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have one. How well vegetated is the area around where the tracks go down? And then what kind of vegetation also?
Well, there are trees in here, but I would say there's not a large understory. Let me say that. I don't, the leaves are off the trees, it's hard to see, you know, how extensive the cover was. But this is a fairly limited understory. Would you agree with that, Scott?
Yeah, it's hard to tell with the leaves off, but it's mostly small saplings and small deciduous understory, yeah. And the machine went down there and ripped out a lot of the small stuff, so you could literally walk right down there now.
But even in the other areas, it wouldn't be very difficult walking.
No, it isn't. You can get down. I mean, there are other sites that are we go out to that. I mean, you can literally not walk it up. They're so thick. This is walkable.
The whole area is?
Pretty much. I mean, there's stuff growing there. You got to go around it, but you can get down in there. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like opening up a canopy or something because of that tracks.
No, what he knocked down was most likely saplings less than 3 inches in diameter. It will. I don't believe it'll affect the sunlight availability to the ground.
This is the one that had the delineation of 2006, am I right? Yes. Since the wetlands haven't been flagged since 2006, or the wetlands haven't been redetermined since 2006, how can you be sure that the URA is where it really is by today's standards? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Even if it has changed, we're at the very limit of the 100 feet. I don't see that it's a significant finding because we are asking to go into that area. If it's located 5 feet one way or another, it's, 20 feet higher in elevation. So I don't find it, even if it's off by a few feet, it's that significant.
What's to happen with that area beyond where the boulders are going to be, where the clearing has been, right?
This little area between the tree line and the boulders?
Right, and where it's already been disturbed?
Right.
What is the plan with that?
Just seed it with an upland seed mix and leave it.
Okay, will it match the surrounding area?
Well, no, this used to be treed, so it's not going to match what's treed. It's not going to be match what's lawn. We would suggest something maybe like a no-mow mix in that area from the LOD line to the tree line, this area right in here.
Well, what's the problem with restoring some trees there so that it does match the area around it and doesn't invite it to become lawn because it is right next to the house? Because boulders, depending on the placement of the boulders, they're easily either moved or mowed around. And, if we want to make that determined to be the rest of the area around it, it should probably have some trees added to it.
If that's what you're requiring, yes. We it would we would be planting deciduous trees there. That's what the surrounding woods are. So, I mean, if you want some, you're talking on the downhill side of the boulders, right?
Right. Well, can you
Tree-
give us more definition on the boulders? I mean,
Yeah, like where are you?
where are they gonna
proposing?
be? How big are they gonna be?
And they should be on the drawing so that we have something to put in, for,
Because some people call an 18-inch rock a boulder. No. So, I would like to see a little bit more definition.
You want to just show, I'm not sure where it is that you're talking about, the boulder line?
Can you zoom out a bit, Scott?
And blow it back up again. Oh, there.
is that big enough for you?
Yeah, this is the tree line as it exists. A few months ago, before the leaves came off, this was the tree line. So this area had been, either it was naturally open or it was cleared, but in any case, this was the tree line at the time that Scott asked for to be added onto the plans. The area that has been disturbed in this last episode is marked in here. So we're talking about putting a row of boulders as a demarcation along here. This would be the equivalent of the split rail fence that we proposed on the last project. The idea is that they would be there as a demarcation, and it will have the markers on there of a regulated area. We are not intending that this be inhibit passing back and forth any more than a split rail fence would be. It's just that we anticipate when they excavate for the foundation of the building, they're going to wind up with a large number of boulders that can be put in across here. I would say that most likely these stones would have to have one face be at least 6 square feet. In other words, 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. That would be the dimension of the boulders that would go in here. I don't know if we're going to get bigger ones, because this is really just from the excavation of the house is the intent. But it's there to be similar to a split rail fence.
And you're looking to reach all the way down to the bottom of the
No, we're talking about going from the tree line here to the property line there.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're talking about, what did you say, 3 feet? One,
6 square feet on one face, minimum on one face.
how many on center? I mean, how far on center?
I would say that there should be no more than 12 inches between them, as opposed to on center.
Okay.
In other words, you can't, yeah.
Pulling out a phrase that's.
Right, no, it's, normally we do it on center, but because they're gonna be irregular shaped rocks,
Right,
I'm gonna say no more than 12 inches between them so they can't get a lawnmower through it.
that's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, and if they could be bigger than that, that would be even more,
Right, I'm saying that's a minimum,
okay.
but it's gonna be governed by what comes out of the foundation.
So just let's say you hit gold and there's no boulders whatsoever in your foundation.
This is Connecticut.
I know this is Connecticut.
And that's,
But I'm just saying, are we still going to put the boulders the length of that line? No more than
Yes.
12 inches? So
Yes,
they'll be brought in from some other yard.
if that's what it has to be, yes.
and you mean a maximum, they're not gonna be any further than 12 inches apart.
Yeah, he said no more than
Maximum.
12 inches apart.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other commission questions? We got some?
No, that's it.
Any
Just
other
Scott's comments.
commissioners before we go to Scott's comments? No? All right, Scott, do you have any comments you want to bring forward?
Okay, so there was the issue, as long as you're accepting it, there was the issue of using the soils report from the subdivision. There's not any real expected reason why it would be different, because, you know, commission, yeah, so the flagging you see on there is, what they did was they took the location off of the original, so that's what you're looking at. So those are, I believe, mood issues. The survey, a record, just some housekeeping, cleaning on that, and then, where's the extra survey? Yeah, I was all set with that. I had a bond recommendation of $5,000, and then the additional information that they just gave you.
Okay.
So I'm good.
The applicant's okay with the bond recommendation from staff?
Yes. Happy with it.
Thank you. Is there any other questions after Scott's comments? Any other testimony from the applicant?
No, I think this is was a pretty straightforward application, and with the mitigation measures that we propose, it will clean up the problems that were there, and we're asking for approval of the single-family house. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hearing no other testimony, we'll go ahead and close that regular hearing. And I believe, Scott, so we'll move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. I believe, Scott, moving around the postponed agenda items, we should be going to IWC 2015-15, which is 53 Whispering Pines. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, 53 Whispering Pines, regulated activities associated with proposed construction of pole barn, greenhouse, chicken coop with associated gravel pits. This is being reconvened from our 10/28 meeting. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. Let me just load this up here. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 1428 Monroe Turnpike here in Monroe. We did submit some revised information. We did just get some last minute comments from Scott, and I do have some an updated plan with very, very minor revisions that I'm just going to run through for you tonight. Let's see.
Good, all we got?
Yeah, I only have one.
Okay.
I have one. John's got one.
Well, yeah, pass that down there and we'll share.
I can share with you.
So,
Everybody got one?
we have enough. We should have had enough, right?
I think
I
we're
was
short.
Probably short too.
Oh, well, I apologize. I thought it was the 3 full size and the 7 reduced. Anyways, again, so this hearing is reconvening from October 28th. It's for a project located at 53 Whispering Pine Road, just to orient you. It's on the north end of town.
I lied. Oh, here we go. Lara, pencil. There you go. Oh, no, those are marked. Sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, you're right, these are old ones. Never mind. Indian gear.
So, just to orient you, the site is, as I said, located at the end of a cul-de-sac. This is Whispering Pine Road here. As we reviewed at the last meeting, there is an intermittent water course drainage swale which is on the property. It also extends in this location as well from a municipal drainage easement and system. And I actually have a couple iterations, but what we have, this is what was initially proposed. Actually, this is the expanded one. We're proposing a proposed pole barn, a gravel driveway, a chicken coop, a greenhouse, and a proposed garden. We discussed a number of things at the last hearing, one of which is we wanted to enhance the buffer plantings. So we've actually added a considerable amount of plantings along the edge, and we've extended that compost berm further north to provide a little bit better filtration for stormwater as it would run down this hill. So this is actually the original application. You can see the density of the plants. You can see where the garden was located pretty close to the drainage swale. At the last hearing, we had proposed that we did pull this back and proposed the berm in this location. If you remember, we discussed, we still had the silt fence and the limited disturbance which extended past here. And what's shown on the revised plans that I just gave you tonight is we actually pulled that limited disturbance in. There were some trees on the plans that you had gotten maybe tonight, but the updated plan, we eliminated that. We wanted to eliminate the disturbance in that area. We did provide a small sedimentation trap, but we do have the limited disturbance pulled back to reduce that disturbance as much as possible, and we have pretty considerably enhanced the amount of plantings along the buffer area. We've also shown a composting area inside of the garden. One of the things we had talked about is kind of what was going to happen with the chicken coop and where that was going to take place, and we wanted to provide an actual area and designate an area within that garden so it was clear where that composting was going to take place, so it wasn't going to take place in an area that wasn't controlled, didn't have those same protection measures around it. We had added some additional plantings on this location, and then we had also provided a delineation of an approximate delineation of the limits of where that fill had been previously placed, which was referenced in Cynthia Rabinowitz's soils report. So we wanted to make sure we addressed that as well, and that was one of Scott's comments. You had, again, you had some additional comments that we did receive. We did provide, we expanded the size of the drainage recharge trench, and we did make some very minor modifications to the direction of the grading for this gravel drive to ensure that everything will get over to that area. Scott had asked for some calculations. We did some calcs, but I didn't have them in a form that I could bring them to him, so this is sized accordingly to provide for that first 1 inch of rain for the entire area, and I think we can provide those calcs to Scott's satisfaction. There was a comment from the health department previously about showing the septic area and a reserve area. We've provided this plan to Rich Jackson, and he has provided an email verifying that this plan is acceptable. It does satisfy his comments, so that should be in the file. I think we've been able to address the majority of Scott's comments, and I think we've been able to capture the majority of the items that we did discuss at the last hearing, but I'd like to open it up and see if there's any, and actually there's one other item. They want the drainage, the municipal drainage, there's a head wall here, or excuse me, an outlet here. So there's a double set of catch basins here. There's a pipe that travels to this location. There is a manhole here, but we did not pick it up on our survey. And then it goes from here and it extends to this outlet here. Now, there was a question, we want to make sure we showed that manhole on our plan to make sure, one, that it was within the easement area, and to make sure that we weren't going to have any issue with what we were proposing from a grading standpoint and any impact to that manhole. We hadn't had a chance to pick it up, but we can certainly do that and provide that to Scott as a condition of approval, but we're pretty confident based on where these basins are and how the pipe comes this way and then continues this way that we are confident that it's in the right location, but we can certainly verify that. We hope as a condition of approval.
So can you put back up the overhead picture?
Sure.
So is that yellow line still the area that's being restored with those plantings? Is that still on using today's plan, or is there more plants in there now from that yellow?
This reflects the additional plantings.
Okay.
So that's included in the plan you gave us tonight?
Yes, it is.
What is the big brown area there?
Well, there was some disturbance in this area, which has been seeded and topsoiled, and that is reverting back to lawn, and we are proposing all these additional plantings in this area as well. But the area that was filled was closer to here as we.
So that's a good representation, because the photo was before it was the seeding.
Correct.
came in.
That's correct, yes.
So the only other question I had is, so the vegetation that is to the north really of the hook, that also looks like newer vegetation or shorter vegetation. Was that area also disturbed? That area was also disturbed, correct?
Where is this?
So, basically on the other side of the stone wall?
Through here?
Yeah.
I think at one point there were some trees cleared in that area. Along the drainage swales. We, rather than kind of go in there and disturb it, we'd rather just establish a more, a more severe buffer to kind of create that barrier from going back in there.
Okay. Is there any vegetation in there that will grow up into a new canopy?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what does the invasives look like right now in that area?
So our soil scientist couldn't be here tonight to kind of speak about that in more detail. I mean, from what I've seen, it doesn't, it looks more like a forested area with some drainage swales in it. It doesn't seem overgrown with the standard invasive species that you do see in some areas. Yeah.
Is there a invasive monitoring program for this area or not?
We hadn't proposed it.
Well, we would normally ask for a monitoring period having to do with plantings anyway, so we could
Right.
fold that
That's
in.
normally more percentage alive. You know what I mean?
We can.
But well, we also discussed it, we also include invasives, I believe, do we not?
Yeah,
In
but
our
what is,
monitoring plan?
yeah, it would be, part of the follow-up would be to comment on the invasives and how they're being controlled or eliminated. However, typically, the proposal includes more detailed information on what is there and what you're proposing to do with it. You don't have anything on that?
I mean, when Cynthia Rabinowitz went out and did flag the wetlands, we did ask her to look at that, and she didn't provide any comments regarding, extensive invasives in that area that needed to be controlled.
Yeah, and it might be difficult to really see or realize, because that's the area that has been cleared. I mean, the vegetation in that wetland area has been cleared out. So I gotta get the commissioners, we'll talk a little bit later in the meeting about it, but we gotta get more commissioners to go out and look at these sites so you know what you're discussing. Because it really goes a long way to go out and see these.
Are there any other questions by the commission?
I don't think so. I think I've got it in there.
Just trying to make sure I don't miss anything.
Scott, have your concerns been met?
Yes, with the exception of, so he's indicated how he's addressing the flat area with the berm that he's proposing and all that. So that's part of the presentation. That's number 8. So I'm assuming you're okay with that. And then I just think for the record before you can move forward with this thing tonight, are you saying that you are agreeable to having whatever invasives within the wetland area there, the wetland and the upland area, to be removed as part of the proposal, and the follow-up reporting will address that.
We can certainly agree to that.
Okay.
Nothing else, Scott?
It's a $10,000 bond.
Bond, and the applicant agrees to the estimation. Any other questions by the commission? Seeing none, is there any other testimony you want to present at this time?
No, just,
Oh, I know, I've got a question. Do we- I'm sorry, we might have covered this last time, right?
No, of course.
Exterior lighting?
none proposed.
None?
None proposed.
Okay. Hearing that, so we are gonna open up this to public hearing, or sorry, public comment.
Before you do that,
Yeah.
why
Do we
don't,
have new exhibits to
Yeah.
enter?
did you register this new one in there?
Yes, I did, okay. So we had proof of mailings from Solely Engineering on November 2nd. November 17, we had response to the inland wetland comments by Kevin Solely.
This off the exhibit number too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Exhibit 5 were the mailing receipts, Exhibit 6 was the response to comments. Number 7 was the two-sheet map set titled Zoning Location Survey by Accurate Land Survey and Solely Engineering. The document was dated June 26, 2015, revision date November 17, 2015. Exhibit 8 was an updated engineering review by Scott. The document was dated originally 10/28, revision date 11/17. And the new map set number was Exhibit 9, and that's proposed yard improvements by Solely Engineering. And the document was dated November 18th.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Okay. For the record, there's no copies, they were just folded together. They're not folded. All right. All right, first we'd like to open up if anybody has any comments in support of this application. Seeing none. Anybody that would be opposed to this application? Any comments of general nature towards this application? Okay, seeing none. Is there any other comments or questions by the commission? Staff? Nope. Hearing none other, is there anything else you'd like to present?
No, just we, as always, we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much. Going ahead and close this public hearing for IWC 2015-15. Okay. Wonderful. Next public hearing on our agenda is IWC 2015-19, 64 Cambridge Drive, subdivision referral for re-subdivision of property, regulated activities associated with the construction of additional roadway, driveway, and associated grading, utilities, and drainage, New England Materials by Kimball Group LLC. It is also noted that this will be also considered a subdivision referral.
Can you share with me, Jeff, the local code? It's so close to that. Everything in there. I think that, it's just, I'm not good. And there's 60 votes for them too.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, for the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located here in Monroe. I failed to mention this when I spoke at the last hearing, but I'm glad, I like it when I have multiple hearings in the same night. But I would actually also like to thank Commissioner Bath for your extended years of service, not only as a professional. I go to a lot of public hearings in a lot of different municipalities, and you guys are the ones who spend more time, your own time, volunteer time, to really help manage how the town gets developed. That's very admirable. But also as a resident of Monroe, your service is great. And I don't know if I've ever presented to a commission that's had a commissioner who's been a part of that commission for as long as you have. So that's very commendable.
Somebody had to do it.
So.
And he did it well.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm here this evening with me here this evening is Jim Cowan from Environmental Planning Services, our soil scientist. And we're here to talk about the re-subdivision of Section 4 of the Pepper Street Business Park. We actually did have a hearing on September 23rd. At that time, we went through the whole hearing, but after the conclusion of the hearing, we realized there was an issue with our notice. So we did withdraw that application without prejudice, and we submitted essentially the same application that we had talked about. We did try to incorporate some of Scott's comments into our revised plan set, but we're here before you anyways, and it's technically a new application. So.
And you received my revised comments?
I did, and we did receive Scott's revised comments tonight. We obviously couldn't respond to them, but we can certainly talk about some of them, and we can provide a lot of that information. The site's located, this aerial shows the town of Monroe. Route 25 runs north-south. The site's located north of Pepper Street, the Pepper Street loop here, and it's part of the Pepper Street Business Park. Obviously, the business park has been subject to many approvals, both from an overall standpoint and also individual lots of development. There's Axel Plastics is under construction at this location at 50 Cambridge Drive. There was an approval for Karuba at 500 Pepper Street. So the commission should be very familiar with this particular part of town and the history. 64 Cambridge Drive. This is the property, I guess, in question. And there is some history to this. This was originally approved in 2004. At that time, Cambridge Drive was ending approximately in this location. It was modified again in 2007, which extended Cambridge Drive further into the property here. 64 Cambridge and 4 Independence were approved for the construction of 2 industrial buildings, which is currently actually still being excavated as part of those approvals. But the modification did extend Cambridge Drive into the property. There was a bridge crossing over a wetland area here and drainage for the municipal road in this location. As we talked about, this did propose a crossing. It did provide a four-cell bridge. You can barely see it, but the wetland actually came up and then it came back down, and there was a small area here that was wetland soil, but this was actually an old farm road. We talked about this at length at the last hearing. We'll talk about it again from a hydrologic standpoint and a drainage standpoint, at least superficially. We don't believe there was really a hydrologic connection through here because this was a farm road that was like the natural high spot, or at least it was used that way. And when we looked at this from a connection standpoint from what we're proposing, we're proposing to pull that subdivision road down to this location and then essentially reuse and continue to use and improve a driveway which was established for the operations and the excavations activities on 64 Cambridge and 4 Independence. From a hydrology standpoint, as I stated, well, let me just run through this. So this is the existing right-of-way. One of the other comments that we did discuss at the last meeting, which I'll just touch on quickly, is the end of this right-of-way and whether or not that was formally conveyed to the town. We went back and we looked, and I guess this was not accepted by the town, and this wasn't formally adopted by council. So I think that there was a map, but there was a map filed, but that actually ended Cambridge Drive here. so where the edge of the pavement is now, but this extension was never formally adopted. So that question that we had about whether or not how that would have to get split up, I don't believe we have that issue. So we're proposing to pull that end of that cul-de-sac to this location in an area that's obviously currently disturbed, eliminating that extension, and then just establishing a driveway through here. We did update the wetlands flagging. Jim can talk about that a little bit, but we updated the wetlands in 2014. Jim has studied this area exhaustively. He was a part of the team that initially, he's been looking at this since the late 90s, I think. Hydraulically, well, I guess I'm a little all over the place. One of Scott's comments also, and I believe it was provided to the commission previously, was a wetlands comparison map. We had done this as part of an exercise for staff in 2014 and compared the wetlands which were delineated in 2014 versus the wetland delineation in 2004. So that does show the comparison here. And I do have a blow up of that area. So you can see the green is 2004. You can see it was, it wrapped around and then it wrapped this way. So there was a dry portion through here and then this wetland connected across. The blue represents the 2014 delineation. So as part of this driveway, there was some disturbance, but we are proposing to mitigate that with some upland habitat restoration area, which we can get into in a little bit. From a drainage standpoint, and I started this conversation 3 times, but we looked at this and we looked at this crossing, we looked at providing a hydraulic connection between the wetlands. But when you look at how this drainage area flows, this is a wooded wetland, this area and this area all drain to it, and then it comes down and it splits. One goes underneath a bridge under Cambridge Drive here, and then another drainage pattern continues this way underneath a bridge on Enterprise Drive, and then it kind of hits a berm along the rail trail, and then it comes back around underneath another bridge on Cambridge. This is 500 Pepper Street, which was just subject to an approval, and then it continues this way. It reconnects with this drainage pattern, and then it goes around the edge of 50 Cambridge where Axle Plastics is being constructed, and then it hooks up with the Pequannock and continues south. When we looked at this and possibly providing either another bridge crossing or another hydraulic connection through here, we're concerned that that would actually potentially inundate this property with water that it doesn't get or doesn't currently get, and we don't believe actually got before. So we'd actually propose not to provide that hydraulic connection through there because we do believe that this pattern is better for this, and providing a connection may potentially impact this from a flooding standpoint, and we wouldn't want to do that to a neighbor. So let's see. So what we want to do is, this is the end of the proposed cul-de-sac as we're proposing it, and just shows on an aerial. We want to extend a driveway in this location and improve that driveway in the location of the existing driveway up to 64 Cambridge Drive. As part of this, we are proposing a small stormwater detention system or detention basin. It's been designed with low impact development features where this will sheet flow in, collect into this basin, and then outlet via emergency overflow. The proposed driveway itself is proposed to have Cape Cod curb on this side only to serve as a catchment to direct the stormwater into a paved leak off through a riprap energy dissipator prior to discharge into the water quality basin. As I stated, there was a former impact related with this driveway, so we are proposing to provide upland habitat enhancement area of about 9,200 square feet or so at the base of a hill in this location. There's actually a water quality basin located here with an outlet to this location. This is actually in the same general location as where the previously approved detention basin was as part of the special exception permit for this. So this has been established as both a sediment basin and a stormwater basin. So there's an opportunity to provide some enhancement in this location, and we've proposed that as part of this subdivision referral. We did provide, we wanted to provide a little bit of a blow-up. We are proposing to regrade in this area, more enhance it with plants and install some coarse woody debris per the direction of our soil scientist. As you can see, this does show the detention basin that's out there, the outlet pipe and the riprap, which was installed and currently operates. It does have a sediment forebay to make sure that this outlet doesn't, result in anything. So there's an opportunity, we feel, to enhance this area with some plantings. Our layout plan does provide a pretty robust plant list. In Jim's letter report, he does have the plant list, and he actually broke that plant list out both into plantings for the water quality basin and plantings for the upland enhancement area. Our plan only shows the total quantity, so we can actually revise that plant list to provide that better breakout, but it is a pretty robust plan both through this area, kind of at his direction, and then also in the water quality basin. So just to show you in plan view, again, this is the end of the proposed cul-de-sac that we're looking to establish. One of the things we talked about in September was actually staking out the edges of this cul-de-sac, staking out the edges of the proposed water quality basin and the stone wall. We weren't able to get out there, but that will be staked out this week. So if the commission has an interest in going to see this, as Scott has recommended, they'd be able to go see where these edges are, where the edge of the cul-de-sac is, where the driveway is. So the plan proposes to relocate a stone wall along this edge, along the edge of the basin, along this edge here, provide some coarse woody debris on the wetland side of that stone wall, and then plantings kind of along the top of this basin, within the basin, along this edge. We don't want to go into these woods more than we have to provide the water quality basin. So we wouldn't want to disturb further than we would need to, but we think that we can establish a pretty good, robust buffer through this area here. One of the comments, actually, did I submit that yet? There it is. Some of Scott's comments that we did get a little last minute, that you were requesting some information. I thought we had actually included it in our original submission. But
I didn't get it. I left a message. I was gonna talk to you today.
Yeah, I tried you back and I think it was too late in the day, so I apologize for that. But I do have,
Normally you provide a response sheet that kind of pinpoints where things are, and I could have missed a few.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. But so this is the reporting form, the test pit log, and also some specifications that Jim Cowan proposed for the water quality basin itself, which I'm going to talk about now.
Yeah, it's for the commission. Some of this stuff was stuff that was submitted in the previous application that was withdrawn, but I wanted to make sure that the file stands on its own.
And regarding the proof of posting, Donna, I think Arthur from my office sent you a picture of the sign, an email on November 9th. So that was done in accordance with the,
I think it was for the other withdrawn application.
for this one.
Oh, for this one?
Just an email showing that it was sent. And there was a picture attached to that email showing the sign. So the basin itself, we did provide a test pit. We do have adequate depth, so this could be a dry basin. We are proposing it to be a dry basin. One of the recommendations from Jim after some much further discussion is we're actually going to propose for this to be a biofiltration basin. So Jim's provided some additional specifications for that, and based on our test pit log, we did not observe water in this location. Since this is currently the edge of the gravel drive where we did our test pit, we did observe 1.25 inch process material, which is obviously the road base that's currently being used, to about 30 inches down. And then we had discovered brown fine sandy loam, and then from 50 inches to 72 inches, some light brown, medium to coarse sand, which is very good from an infiltration standpoint. What we propose is to remove that top layer of the impacted fill and provide some soil specifications based on Jim's recommendation, which is included there. So it has a specific mix for the basin bottom, the basin soil mix, how deep it should be. You know, we want to make sure that it doesn't get compacted so it can actually provide the infiltration that we want it to have. And this, I think these specifications that we're proposing will also address Scott's comment about making sure that it does fully drain after storm events. So if the construction is done in accordance with our specs, it will fully drain, and the shrub plantings that we're proposing in that area will actually help its efficiency and its longevity and operation. Our SEC plan is proposed in accordance with the Soil Erosion Sediment Control Manual. It's provided by DEP. We do have silt fence along the edge with hay bale backing. You know, this basin can serve as our sediment basin during this construction, and then it can be scraped out, excavated to its final grade with the correct soil composition put back in to make sure that it can have its infiltration and provide that. The operation of this facility is currently regulated by a general permit for stormwater discharge from DEP, in addition to stormwater discharge from an industrial activity with DEP. Those permits are active. They're being maintained in accordance with the deep requirements, with reporting requirements being completed in accordance with those permits. So this currently has, there's sedimentation basins on this property, and our plan is, this plan for this roadway has been designed to kind of complement that, which is already in place for this facility. That essentially sums up our proposal. Happy to answer any questions. Jim's also here to talk a little about the wetlands if you have any questions regarding them specifically. I know we did have a chance to, and this is a new application, but we did have a chance to discuss it first, so happy to open it up to questions.
So there's one question I had, trying to remember, I know you talked about this in the last application, was the siltation fence with the hay bale backing. I thought we had talked about a berm
We had,
to kind of beef up that area, especially with the large trucks traveling that area.
Well, we have a permanent berm in the form of the coarse woody debris, which essentially we put in as a berm on the downhill side of the stone wall that will be relocated. We can certainly incorporate something like that. Actually, this part of the ongoing operation, it does have diversion berms along all the edges of the property to make sure that stormwater doesn't just run over a slope, run down a
they're
slope.
riprap, right?
No, it's processed. There may be, the core of the berm is actually a process with a lot of fines so that, you know, water does run down along. Even these drives, water will, there's currently a sediment trap here in this location and a sediment trap in this location, and water essentially runs down this driveway along those diversion berms and then into those traps. What we're doing with proposing to pave this drive is we're going to essentially kind of establish that this area is permanent, it's finished, it's complete. There will no longer be any temporary sedimentation measures in this area once this is complete, and that will all move internally into this site until this site's fully completed and fully stabilized.
The sediment trap that's at the edge of the lower wetlands, the one that's in that triangle, right where that triangle meets, yeah. What, I know part of it's being paved over.
Yes.
The other part obviously is quite full right now with sediment.
Yes.
Is there any plans to provide additional sedimentation there, or is it everything moving over to the other side?
Everything is draining and everything is being graded to drain to the west. So everything is going to drain towards this side, and everything's gonna go into this basin.
So there'll no longer be a sediment trap on that side.
That's correct.
In the area that's not being paved as additional driveway, is anything you can do to replant that area since it is?
This is all, this is all actually 50 Cambridge Drive, so it's actually outside of our limits of control. I do believe there's a detention basin being put in there as part of the Axle Plastics project, and I think there is, and I think there is some plantings in this area, so this, you know, this will actually, you know, with the improvements at Axle and this will actually kind of finish this edge.
Well, one of my comments was that, that area up here that extends off your property, that I believe this user has
Disturbed?
disturbed this area in here, really needs to be addressed. It's not part of Axel's plan, and it's not part of your plan, so I'm kind of raising that as an issue.
The disturbance in this area was actually from L&L Evergreen. They were using that for plant storage, and
Well, one time there were roll-offs in there with material in the roll-offs.
I think there's some state storage of some
Well, I
materials
think it's
in
moved
here.
up, it's moved up to there.
Yeah, it's been moved
It
up
used to be right
50
where, it used to be right down here.
In here?
Yep, it used to be right in there,
There's some
and,
old giant pots as well as,
That was from L&L.
yeah, that's from
there's
L&L.
other stuff there too.
So at one point, it was stockpiles, and then at one point, there was some containers there, and at another point, there was L&L using it. So it's been disturbed in a number of different ways by, I think, a number of people.
Mhm.
And that's why I realize that it's off your property, but it's kind of the time to address it.
Well, it's a fortunate world we live in. The applicant is also affiliated with the site contractor who's performing the work at Axle Plastics. So they are constructing this basin, they are installing, they are finishing this area, they will be stabilizing that area. So I think ultimately, this can certainly be folded into a hodgepodge blend of whether it's the Axle Plastics project or as part of this. I mean, since this is off of our property, I don't know how we could have a condition of approval to do enhancements on a property outside of the control of the applicant. However, I can state that, and I do know there's a detention basin and plantings proposed in this area, so I think this entire area can be stabilized and finished.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
Oh, actually, I had one for Mr. Cowan. Is it, in your experience, using hay bales as backing for silt fence, does that create problems with hay seeds traveling into the wetlands? Because I know in my garden, it's a brutal mess.
Not so much in wetlands. Most of the hay species are not tolerant of wetland conditions, and particularly in shade. They're more like orchard grass, timothy and so forth. That would be sun-loving field species.
Okay. So even the upland will not be adversely affected by using hay bales?
You could get some germination of hay seeds.
Is that not a good thing, or is it an okay thing?
It's probably neutral. I mean, there's already a seed bank there that's a mix of natives, non-natives, and invasives.
Mhm.
As long as you're not putting in invasives, I wouldn't see it as a major issue. And we do hay bales, is a pretty standard
I
protocol.
know, but then
And
it just dawned on me that maybe that's not the best thing to use.
I haven't noticed it being a significant source of seed in restoration areas.
I think with the conventional application of taking a hay bale, throwing it into a blower, and blowing it to stabilize an area,
Mhm.
that results in a much more higher percentage of the germination of the hay seeds. As an alternate to that, you can propose straw, which doesn't have that seed in it. But I think if you're taking a hay bale itself, it doesn't since it's in such a localized area and it is, you know, somewhat contained, even if it's to break up from its hay bale form, it is somewhat localized to the area where it's being placed versus when it is thrown into a blower and spread over a full field. I think that's when you have much bigger issues. So if this whole area was being disturbed and then, you know, topsoiled and seeded and hayed, then you'd have a much more propensity for that to spread.
Okay, thank you, it was just
Mhm.
something I was curious about, so, thank you for your help.
So, I'm sure I'll definitely let Scott go over his comments, but there are quite a few, technical bullet points in the review
Yeah.
comments that I'm reading. So, to ask the applicant, do you need time to address these, or specifically like, technical 6 and 7 about paving areas and runoff and buffer plantings, and as well as 6 is additional detail on the plantings in the upland review enhancement area.
Mhm. I think Jim can talk a little bit about that in terms of like the specific details regarding the upland enhancement area. You know, I think we didn't do a good enough job of breaking out the plant list to show this is for the enhancement area, this is for the basin. That is provided in his information, but I think he can certainly kind of touch on that a little bit. You know, there are some other technical comments that Scott had. He's looking for additional information regarding the drainage analysis. I mean, I'm confident we can address all this with Scott, but, you know, it would also, if the commission feels like these are things that need to be worked out prior to a referral, we understand. You want to
Yeah.
touch a little bit about the
Yeah,
enhancement?
my
could also-
goal is always to get,
The data during the.
yeah, to get enough information during the hearing and so that we're not struggling when it comes time to deliberate. And, you know, it's hard to quantify for the file, you know?
Yeah, if you could also reference, there's one, number 10, about the vernal pool envelope and creating a buffer for that.
Jim can touch on that too,
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
I don't have the
Comments?
comment list in front of me, but
He hasn't had a chance to study them, I just
Yeah,
showed them to him
yeah.
tonight, so.
Kevin,
Sorry.
Kevin and I have spoken to, but let me just kind of back up. And for the record, James Cowan with Environmental Planning Services, registered soil scientist and certified professional wetland scientist. I assume this is a public hearing. So, let me just back up and bring forward the information from the previous hearing. Is my plan review in guiding the planting plan was informed by the fact that we know that there's a productive vernal pool nearby. And there's a vernal pool envelope that actually is in the vicinity of the existing drive. And I worked with Scott and his team to reduce and align the basin to minimize any cutting of trees. So, and to locate it so it's primarily in an area that's currently open. The vernal pool envelope is important during the breeding season. We want to maintain it forested to the maximum extent feasible. So the initial plan I saw showed for wetland mitigation by removing forest to expand the wetland. And my recommendation was that's not a good idea. Keep the forest, upland forest is important for the vernal pool. So we've done several things to provide protection for the vernal pool. Minimize disturbance of the forested area. We want to make sure that the basin is not ponded. We don't want to create a decoy vernal pool. So we're proposing that it be an infiltration basin, essentially a large rain garden with an outlet for large events. But the idea is that it doesn't stay ponded for more than a couple of days, that it will infiltrate or drain out. And then looking at what we might do for wetland mitigation, My recommendation was to look at enhancing the upland review area in the vicinity of the vernal pool. And so we've selected a couple of areas where there's been some disturbance of invasive species. We'll remove invasive species in there and plant understory species, upland species, in the wooded areas, and then along the edge, more sun-loving species, again, to kind of contain that edge and enhance the habitat. And in any trees that are removed would be used as coarse woody debris, which is also habitat value for amphibians. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing. Scott has asked, should we do more plantings in the buffer area or in the vernal pool envelope, since there is some a modest disturbance there. So we'll look at that. I'll evaluate that as we break down the quantities that go along the edge of the basin, sort of at the limit of disturbance. I envision more or less a continuous planting of trees and shrubs to reinforce that wooded edge between the basin and the vernal pool.
You know, one of the things I was talking about too is that, although this is a re-subdivision, I don't know if we address it at this point or when you come in with the site plan information, but a lot of the activity is happening up here. Can you, I don't know if you could blow that up or not.
I can open the other plan.
I noticed when you put more information on there, that's where the driveway splits and it goes into the scale house for the property, for the use. And if you think about it, that's where there's a lot of truck activity and dust and all kinds of things. And that is in the envelope. And I'm thinking that along that edge there, that needs to be looked at and addressed. That's what I was thinking of too in terms of a buffer. Buffer or a berm to keep that water away from there and the dust away and whatever. So if we can find that, that's the area I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay, we'll look at that.
We did notice down closer to where the cul-de-sac part is that the forest is very dense there, and it's all covered with a fine sediment. So it's doing a good job of keeping the sediment out. So I guess that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, there was another, that wasn't the plan, but there were, that is the plan, but it's so light that you can't, like, you see the island here.
Yeah, so.
And the two different.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens is, from an operational standpoint, this is the scale house. Trucks come in and out. This is the way, so they get weighed coming in, they get weighed when they leave. This is there's a maintenance garage here and an employee shack, and then there's employee parking along here. So the disturbance is actually pretty close to the edge of the envelope, but there is a deep, or pretty very thick buffer from the edge of the disturbed area down to the wetlands. And there is thick vegetation there, and there are diversion berms established along here so that this does drain into, from a sedimentation standpoint, into the sediment pond. So that's a little bit more
So
discussion.
maybe a situation of representation on the plan a little better so we understand what we're dealing with and take a look at it.
So if we showed existing tree line, existing and proposed tree line.
I think the existing tree line is shown through here.
Okay.
But maybe bring it up as part of the plan rather than one of the backgrounds.
Sure.
Just so we can see
Yep.
the backgrounds. I think you mentioned a good point earlier. I really like to see the breakdown between which plants are going where in the plan. Mainly the big two areas. I mean, I understand you do have to do some, siting on site, but
Right.
which ones are going in the upper area, which ones are going in the lower area, so we can really get a feel for how many plants are going where. 'Cause the numbers seem impressive. It's just, there's two pretty large areas, one 9,000 square feet, the other one's probably 5, 4, I don't know how big the sediment area is, but it's a pretty good sized area also, so plants can start getting sparse, but hard to tell right now.
Right, right. Understood.
Any other questions or comments, staff or commissioners? Okay, any other representations the applicant would like to do before I go to exhibits and then public comment?
I guess I would just have a question to get your guidance at this point. To me, it would seem feasible to do a planting plan for the basin that would show the location of the plants there. For the upland review area enhancements, that's more challenging because I see that as dispersed where we remove invasives, and it would be pretty complicated to try to do that. So, but I do want to get guidance in terms of, certainly we'll break down the plant numbers for the basin area and for the enhancement areas. But what would you like to see in terms of a representation on the plans?
Yeah, I would say in the upland review area, I'd like to see like a density guidance.
Uh-huh.
So what density are you going for? How many feet on center, how many plants in the area kind of thing,
Mhm.
and spell that out, numbers of plants and that kind of stuff. I agree with you, I think where you're doing the sedimentation trap, that should be pretty easy to plant them now because a lot of it's being disturbed, so that's going to, pretty easy to tell where they're gonna be planted. But I'll see what else the commission thinks.
Well, it depends on how difficult it would be for staff to evaluate
Yeah.
for CO. So, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we have, if the plan calls for general, it has general guidance along those lines, that the goal is to have a density of such and such, that you're looking to plant certain, varieties within that, and then you have a written, indication that, it's going to be as field, dictates, that kind of thing. That's what we're looking for, enough information so that we have a record of what pretty much we know what you're proposing, but we know that you can slide it around a bit to make it fit.
And I'll just say, my intention really wasn't going for a density in the upland review area because it is pretty well forested, but it's basically to remove the invasive species and then where there are gaps to do plantings of both shrubs and herbaceous species that will basically increase the biodiversity and provide additional habitat for amphibians, but for all wildlife.
Right.
And then also, and the denser plantings would be along the edge where there is sunlight coming in. So that would be where where I would envision having a denser planting along the edge and then sporadic planting where we remove invasives or where there's no understory.
Well, you could provide a more detailed written, like you just were describing.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
written, plan, if you will,
Yeah, okay,
in the form of notes or narrative.
okay.
And I think I would ask also that you do review that area that Scott was talking about at the Y to make sure that there is substantial buffer there from sediment.
Okay. Very good, that's helpful.
Is there anything else staff wants to have them look at before they come back next meeting? I'm assuming-
I think in general, I'll get together with Kevin to go over the.
Yeah. And we'll provide our formal, standard response with bullets and everything. So we'll work on that and get it back to them in short order, because we would like to get this resolved at the next meeting. When is the next hearing?
12, no.
December 9th?
9.
Okay.
Tanya, or sorry, Donna. Oh, sorry about that.
It's
I'll
take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I very much meant as a compliment. Would you like to do the exhibits before we open up to public hearing?
Certainly, I'd love to. Pay attention now, it's gonna be quick.
Good.
Exhibit 1, town engineering comments.
Document dated September 23rd, revision date November 18th. Exhibit number 2 were the receipts of the abutter notification. Exhibit number 3 were the test pit specs and the biofiltration basin specifications.
Well said. Okay. If there's nothing else, we will go ahead and open this up for public comment. First, would anybody like to speak in support of this application? Would anybody like to speak in opposition of this application? Would anybody like to speak in comments of a general nature about this application? Seeing none, it's my understanding that the applicant would wish to keep this open for our next meeting, our next hearing.
Yes, we would. We'll to provide some additional information to staff and the commission.
Thank you very much. So we will leave this hearing open. Okay. I'll let you guys get situated, but the next item on the agenda is going to be violations. You all usually agree? Yes. No objections. I'd like to take a 5-minute recess to let staff get reacclimated and whatever.
We're not on yet, right?
No.
We're friend with the driveway drains, but so happens. Did you catch it?
Did what?
Your friend with the driveway drains?
Oh, yeah.
Very upset.
What?
He's not the applicant, is he?
No.
No, so,
He's not?
no, he's public comment.
Oh, is that what
That's his neighbor.
His brother-in-law?
And I thought I was being as polite as I could.
You were
But
telling me.
Well, the recorders are back on, but David's is not running yet, so
All right, give it
just
one more
hold on,
second.
yeah. Come on, David.
We'll give David a couple of minutes.
Oh, don't do that.
They all have copies of everything,
Yeah.
so I don't know why.
But don't you and
I know, excuse
That's,
me.
well, I'm having the same problem myself. I'm hitting the wall soon.
Mhm.
It's really early for me to hit the wall, but I haven't recovered yet.
Oh, see, this is really not time for me to hit the wall.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm
Well, you can start early. You have to leave, but somebody has to leave the house to get here.
The one on 25?
No.
he doesn't come soon. You know how to turn it
Oh,
Probably, get mad because he's got to do it.
Would be, is there a problem asking you to addresses for violations, like when we did something in here. We were deliberating on something, all these violations, but they were nice yeses, it was really hard to pull out the paperwork. I had to go through everything and figure out which
Well,
one was what.
I don't know if we might assess that, but the reason I don't put the addresses on it is because we didn't want to advertise the addresses until they're actually coming to the meeting.
Okay. All right.
And you know what, I find it annoying too. I have trouble with too, but that's the reason why it doesn't.
Yes, that's on the other side of Hudson Road from there, right, so.
Yeah, that's why we didn't do that, because we thought, once it's put your address on, people get upset, and they, because their address is on there, they want to come and speak.
Right, right. That makes sense, yeah, we don't want to irritate people if there's no reason to irritate.
Yeah, so.
Harvard Court's post or down in
I
First
actually
Court?
don't even really go to court, that's more, I do more transactions.
Transactional?
But if I have to, it'll be around there.
You need lights?
It's the main switch you put way out in the front. No, go the other way, don't move that. Oh, that's right, that, you can move that, I'm thinking that.
Yeah, that's not the camera anymore.
All right,
Thank you for waiting.
Okay, everything is on, you just have to start yours.
Motion to adjourn?
Joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, bringing the meeting back to order. The next violation, or next item on our agenda is IWV 2015-11, 78 Stanley Road, and the property owners, I believe, are here. Normally how we start with these is Scott goes a little bit over it, and then you guys will give your testimonies, what has happened with the property and your point of view, and then we'll discuss next steps and how we want to take, how we want to move forward with it. But thank you for coming and working with us.
Okay, just to start things off, what we do is we get word of a violation, the office staff will investigate that and create a file. I believe you got a copy of that in a separate mailing with your notice violation. The report, which is up here, goes to the commission under an administrative review. They look at the report, they listen to what we report to them, and they decide on what process they would like to pursue it. So in this case, after hearing the report, they advise to send out the notice of violation. The notice of violation is basically it's a document that is requesting that you come before the commission to just pretty much talk informally. Tell them a little bit about what's going on. They have some questions for you. You might have some questions. What happens after this meeting, or at the end of this meeting, is the commission will, after they hear what you have to say, they'll deliberate at some point and determine what process they would want you to pursue to resolve the issue. And it could be as simple as, we don't want you to do anything, thank you very much for telling us, to as complicated as, no, we want a full-blown application submitted to the commission to do X, Y, Z. So that's where we are right now. They're gonna listen, and you're gonna talk with each other, and they are going to, ultimately, they're going to decide what process. Once they decide the process, then we get into talking about specifics about what is going to be proposed, what's going to be specifically required. Okay? So that's where we are now, and I guess with that, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll start things off.
Hi, my name is Mike Prushko. Actually, Mieczysław, but people call me Mike.
And I'm Olivia Prusko's daughter.
My daughter. And I built a house 15 years ago, and like 4 years ago, I decided to have chickens, and that's why I built coop. And I think the coop is not in wetland, just right on the edge. First of all, I have no idea exactly, because I'm not engineer from wetland, or I have no experience with this. I just guess, okay, that's a good spot. Boom, I put over there coop for chickens. Next thing, the storage building, whatever it is, that's the building is 8 feet 6 by 16.8. Because I'm doing construction framing, I do have a lot of small tools, you know what I mean? Like skill saws, tables, this kind of stuff. And I have no place to, like storage. That's why I built right over there on the end of the collar, small storage. And I think also that's in the dry land, you know what I mean, not in the wetland.
Yeah, hearing what you're saying, let me take a couple more minutes and explain, so you have the benefit of hearing the clarification and explanation of what you're looking at here and what I sent you. Basically, what we've got here is, this is a map of your property. It's taking off our GIS, which is the aerial photography or pictometry, they call it. So it's pretty accurate, shows it's literally a picture looking down on your property. And superimposed is your property line and the tax map information, and some other information that we use to determine what the conditions are. basically, what you're looking at here is the orange line is your property line. All right? The green line here with the shading behind it, that's the limit of the inland wetlands. Wetlands are areas that are protected. That's the commission is charged with protecting those wetlands and regulating anything that's associated with them. In protecting the wetlands, they've established what's called an upland review area. The upland review area is this dashed red line. So everything from this dashed red line over to the wetlands and including the wetlands is regulated by the commission. You'll notice part of your house and yard is in the upland review area, and so the things are allowed in the upland review area. It's just that the commission regulates them so that they can minimize impact to wetlands. So what's happened here is this green dash line represents the limits of approved disturbance, meaning that when your house was built and you got an approval from the commission, the approval allowed you to establish a yard that was to this limit. So anything beyond that limit, you don't have permission to do. It's not saying you can't get permission, but you don't have a permit to do it at the current time. So what's happened is let me blow this up because I'm having trouble remembering myself here. All right, so what we have here is unapproved shed structures. These sheds are here, and David, help me out, but those don't have building permits either, correct? No. All right, so in order to build a structure in your property, in your yard, you have to get a building permit from the building department, and in this case, you have to get a wetlands permit from the Inland Wetlands Commission to expand your yard to put the sheds there. Go ahead.
If I may just briefly comment, I'm not so sure if a building permit would be appropriate in this situation because the square footage of all of those sheds is below the requirement for a building permit.
So what he's referring to is, at the time you put these in, you needed a building permit, but the laws have changed, and now if it's under 200 square feet, you still need a permit, but it's a zoning compliance certificate. So basically, instead of getting an actual building permit from the building department, you get a compliance certificate from the zoning department that says, yes, these sheds are put in the proper location. They're not conflicting with a setback line or something like that. So you need those two permits for these sheds. In addition, you've got the approximate limit of disturbance, as I said, which is this purple line. Unapproved disturbance within 100 foot of the upland review area is a purple shaded area. So everything in the purple is activity that you did not have permission to do yet. And approved limit of disturbance is a green dash. So again, the green area is the area that you had permission to develop and maintain as part of your yard. So that's why that's how we categorize this. And help me out, David, but how did this come to us? It was an observed violation while updating the town zoning map boundaries. Okay, so this is something that we just came upon as part of a process that we were engaged in.
Right, it was just a part of our upkeep operations in terms of confirming zoning.
Yeah, and what's happening is this whole GIS world that we're entering into, I mean, we'll be doing something for another applicant. It could be a whole bunch of different things, but they jump out at us when we're going through it. It's like, wow, what's all that? That doesn't, there's no approval for that. So anyway, that's where we are with this, and then you can see the limit of disturbance, and this is what tipped us off to these pictures down here, where you see all this activity back here, and it's supposed to be a wooded area. Okay, so that's why we're here, and that's how the regulations work. So, I don't know if you have anything else to add, or? Sorry, it's a lot to
It's a lot
digest.
to
Okay, then, because right now it's very late, probably everybody want to go home. It's very simple, I should apply for permit for both.
Yeah, so now the goal is to figure out, to kind of get a feel from the commission as far as, will any of this be, allowed? Are you gonna entertain, some kind of compromise? Do you have to go out and look at it? And then you gotta tell me how you want to address this. I mean, it could be, again, this could be, this clearly isn't gonna be one where it's like, well, don't do anything. I think this would be more of a, if you accept where things are today, then it would be more like an agent approval. You could do agent approval, establish boundary markers, so they don't go any further. You can talk about or consider plantings, or you could ask for an application so that you may not want all that stuff in there, and the attitude may be, look, you got an approval to build the house, an approval to put in your yard, you want them to stick to it. Do you know where your septic system is?
Right now, on the top of the hill.
Septic system is over here?
No, that's in
Over
the
here?
back. Right here. In the right.
Over
Yeah,
here?
see where it says leaching gallery
Yes.
typical?
Oh,
on
yeah,
the top
yeah,
of the
okay,
hill.
all right.
When was the house built? When was it?
15 years ago.
Okay, well, that's a bit oh, I see, it's over
Right
here.
here.
Yeah, it's
It's
the big narrow,
the right
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Way too far.
Yeah, it slipped.
So-
So the leaching system is way on the edge
Oh, yeah,
of
that's fine.
the, and they have permission, so as you can see, the green area is what they had permission to build in, and so their leaching area went over here, and they had this area over here. What's this thing here?
What's this?
Tank.
No idea.
You don't know what that is?
The bush?
No, there's
No, it's just.
square.
Oh, that's your septic
Yeah.
That's
system.
the septic tank. There's the
Your
leaching.
septic
The
system.
tank.
Yeah,
question.
tanks.
Do you know when the area in kind of your backyard was cleared? Was it additionally cleared after you built the house, or was it?
The property was like most, I don't know, somebody, looks like somebody lived over there like a long time ago.
On the far side,
Like, in the whole property, because I bought the property from the church. And over there, yeah, long time ago, somebody did something over there. Because we find out like old foundation on the clay. Not huge foundation, but kind of wall in the, between trees,
and where was that?
like for barn.
You mean like where the sheds are? Or
That's like,
David, did this limit of
That's-
disturbance that's here, did
that's
you get
close
that
to- close
from
to the coop.
When the house was built?
The green line that you see was that was included on the plans for the construction of the house, yes.
Okay, do you remember when the house was built?
The
Is
approvals,
it in the file, maybe?
it should be in the file, that information should be included there.
All right, we need
There was a specific
Approved
wetlands
in
permit.
99,
yeah, 1990.
Yeah.
initiated in
Okay,
2000,
so
but
what-
was never completed.
So what we have is in 99, it was a plan that was approved for that green area. That was the limit of what they were supposed to do in 1999. So this is one of the ones where we got pretty accurate information, And one would think, and it's unfortunate, but one would think that when there's an approval and a plan available, that people get that when they buy the house, That's probably a very important plan to put in the file in the future.
Oh, right, yes.
Okay, so, because that's really what we would go back to.
If-
I don't see the,
There's no 8.5 by 11 copy of that, Janine?
I don't see it.
Okay.
It's okay, no problem. It's the last. No. All right, so, I don't know, having heard all that, I don't know if you guys want to look at anything, or,
So my question is, so when you guys bought the property, was it pretty much in its current state, besides those sheds?
Very similar. The area in the back,
More, sorry, I meant more on the clearing aspect, like, did you
yeah,
clear a lot of trees?
especially the area where I put the storage building and the cook,
Yeah,
over there was very clean. You can see, if you like it, see, you can see old stumps over there, you know what I mean? From, I don't know who cut this.
You didn't have to do a lot of clearing, I guess?
And that's just around the area where I built the house, now. And whatever is done for 14 years. And now I do have just garden, that's my area. And that's what I'm doing, you know what I mean? I can't go any further because I have no reason, you know what I mean? I do have enough property, that's my property, I feel I do have privacy, trees around them, and that's my hobby. The corner, that's my hobby. Garden and nothing else, you know?
right, I think, what I'm trying to get an understanding of
Yeah.
is, was there, so the limit of disturbance obviously is the green line, right?
Yeah.
Was all the other area wide open, or were there
Yeah,
trees that came down
wide
during
open,
storms, or?
just, I make it like level, you know what I mean?
Okay,
To make garden.
when you built the house, or or,
That's probably almost the same time, you know, because soon I
Same
have a
time.
machine, I just push dirt over or whatever it was.
but didn't take down any trees?
That's,
Okay.
How about the area in front of and behind the house?
excuse me?
When did the trees come down in the areas behind and in front of the house?
And trees?
Were there trees there?
Where I
In the
built
purple
my house.
area, were
Yeah,
there any
yeah.
trees that you took down?
Yeah, we have to knock them down because otherwise how we can build house?
No,
Right,
I
the
mean,
house area, that's fine.
not in
I'm
the
saying
house
further
area, but
back.
in the purple area.
No, we do have, we still have oaks, big trees around the edge, the purple color.
Yeah, what they're asking is, in the purple area, have you cleared any trees in this? But I think it's a situation where you're saying that though, that area was cleared when you bought it,
Yeah, over there, yes.
that it was,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah,
clearing,
yeah,
and you bought it in what year?
1998, I believe.
So,
So,
and you built the house?
did you,
Yeah.
Yes.
oh, you built the house, okay. So,
But you bought an existing plan for a house, I'm guessing, because the foundation was already there, you said?
No, we just find out old foundation, you know what I mean?
Okay.
No, that's on the side, over there in the back corner.
Okay, so that's an existing, that's nothing to do with the current house?
Mm,
Okay.
That's separate.
So it sounds like what might, my understanding is there might have been like shrubs and stuff that you leveled off and cleared off, but there was no trees that were cleared.
No, yes. We just put it because it was empty, that's why I decided to make kind of garden, or I mean, this, in this corner.
Okay. Trying to think. So, as a commission, it's kind of hard sometimes to really visualize what's going on in the property from the above picture, because you guys might have a lot more foliage than the pictures show, and, you know, the aerial photographs are nice, but they don't really give you a clear view. A couple of the ways we normally handle it is that we ask if we could come to visit your site, and a couple of commission members try to pair off and visit a couple times, just to try to see what's going on. That way, we'll bring that information back in deliberations to give you the guidance of where we want to go from it. I want to see how the commission feels, whether they believe they would need to see the site, or whether we think we can give guidance based on what is in the file.
In the clearing process, was there any filling that was done in grading? Did you bring any material in?
Just behind my house, whatever is now, was I don't know why the property was very, very bumpy, let's say, with big potholes, like from 2 to 6 feet. That's why I say, somebody did something over there a long time ago. That's why we find out old foundation, like clay foundation. We just push them, make them level, you know what I mean?
How about on the sides? I mean, in front of the house or behind the house?
On this side, on the right side, from the septic side, from the top, the water pushing a lot of snow and water from my neighbor. I just push them like big rocks, you know what I mean? And the water to stop the water. Otherwise, the water wash off. Soon with heavy rain, just wash off my property and go to my property to the wetland. You know what I mean? That's why I put a lot of big, like how many feet? Just I build up a lot of stone, and the water is stop and go slowly instead of streams.
And so what area is, do we have a laser pointer?
Yeah, that's from the septic area.
Use
This
the
is
septic area.
number 100, like over there.
Over there, that's where
Yeah.
the rocks were pushed.
Yeah, well, that's
in.
very-
So there's no rocks or dirt pushed up by the wetlands?
No,
by the green area?
on this side, because that's very slope. To my neighbor, it's very, very slow, big slope.
So that side, you already have a limited disturbance, so that side,
Yeah, we just,
there's a lot
I
of.
just build a
gradient.
temporary wall, and we push rocks over there to stop the water.
Okay.
Nothing else.
I know, limited disturbance doesn't necessarily mean that's where the woods start, so that doesn't necessarily mean the trees went up to there.
No, usually it does, but it,
Doesn't necessarily.
yeah, that's why I was asking. And what I noticed was our file here, and we're still trying to get this down. It's like, one of the most important things too on these pictometry is I've got the 2015 stuff here, but what would be really helpful would be something older,
Historical
Like-
data? Yeah.
historically.
99.
So I can go back, like for instance, the 84 plan would be a great start because I can see, if you put the 84 plan in here, we would be able to see if it was wooded.
Right.
And so if you know that it's wooded, then you know it was cleared, and it was cleared, it's either, then the question is, was it cleared as part of the house construction and the town missed it?
Mhm.
Or was it cleared after that?
Right.
I think I do have pictures, like my daughter, she said, we do have pictures, so we bought the property, I believe.
Of the property, when you bought it?
Yeah, I think,
Or like the beginning foundation.
yeah,
Okay.
beginning, yeah. I think we do have pictures.
I mean, they can submit copies of those to the office, if that would help us too, with our deliberations later.
Yeah, and I could have staff do the
the
historical,
lookups on Well, we definitely do appreciate you coming in to give your testimony to what has happened on the property, because it's helpful for us. How does the commission feel whether we need a site visit to review this property, or we think if we can get the documentation, we can make a determination? Documentation
I
says,
feel like that's probably more helpful
than visiting.
than.
Yeah, looking at it now, we're kind of see what's up there now. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead, if you could bring in those pictures, bring them to the office, copies of them, are fine, digital copies, you can email to us.
Yeah, definitely, I have to go, I have to.
Yeah, no problem.
I think we do have.
And then we can deliberate on it at a later meeting. We would just ask that if you could get those pictures probably within the next 30 days to us. Do you think that's possible?
Sure.
Okay, then I think we can either at the next meeting or the meeting after that, talk about it, and then you'll be getting a letter from our office. And if you have any questions on the letter, it will have a number to contact for the office, and you can ask any questions you need and any clarifications. Okay? We again, appreciate you guys coming
All right.
in and
Thank you very much.
Thank
keeping
you.
the process going, right?
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Everybody's good?
okay.
The next violation is IWV 2015-17, 234 Main Street.
All right, give me a second here. I gotta-
No problem.
isn't working for me, I'll tell you why. Okay, so they're gonna do the pictures within 30 days and staff to,
We probably should have gotten their contact information when they're here. Or no, we
No,
got it.
we
They're
have
in
all
the
that.
letter. They've got it now, okay.
Well, you didn't get his
Okay.
permission to walk.
234 and 246 Main Street. These are Sippin property. This is
Oh,
the fuel depot building, and next door where the Northeast Laser and the new brew pub is, where the Ace Hardware used to be. Way in the back of the property, there is, and we already gone over this. I went over this and you asked me to issue a notice of violation, and I did. After the notice of violation was issued, the applicant owner came in and met with us. There are a number of planning and zoning violations as well. And they have agreed to submit an application to the commission, to the Wetlands Commission, for remediation of the back portion of the property. So they did not come in response to the notice of violation. All you need to do is kind of give me a little bit of direction on how long you want to give them to submit an application. They, I'll tell you that they were discussing and they kind of requested it be 90 days.
I'm okay with that. That's everything, 90 days? Okay. 90 days for both 234 and 246? Okay.
Okay.
Do you need that motion, Scott, or?
No.
Good, moving forward with that?
Yep, that's fine. All right, next one is 15 Owl Hill Road. This is a property that is quite a not colorful, but interesting history to it. But the buyers of the property are kind of came into us and got this whole thing started. I brought this before you, I showed it to you, and you asked for a notice of violation to be issued to them. I did that, and as a result of that, I met with the building manager who represented the buyer. And he was also in close contact with the seller. It's more of an estate type thing going on. And he told me that they, what they would like to do is they are agreeable to coming in with an application. However, because the limits of approved disturbance were so close to the pool that's in their backyard, they want to propose a little bit more area for use of the yard. And so they're putting together an application, a regular application to the commission. And so they chose also not to come to the hearing with word that they are submitting an application. And they also need you need to come up with the schedule for their submission of their application. I think they are a little bit more aggressive in terms of the time schedule because they're trying to acquire the property and get it all done. So
It's a smaller property, less detailed.
and it's a
too.
smaller property, so I don't think there's as much necessity to give them more time, but it's certainly up to you.
Well, how about we do 60 days?
I think 60 days is perfectly fine for that.
Well, I don't disagree with that. Why aren't we staying just standard with these things?
So we have been typically staying standard with 60 days. So really it was just because the other applicant needed more time and requested that we granted them.
Well, and then the other application too, in fairness to them, it's kind of involved with
It's a
planning
big
and zoning.
process.
So they're trying to work out a whole bunch of planning and zoning issues, so I think that that could be justified. And then, yes, you're right, typically it's 60 days, so,
Good question.
okay.
I'm glad we got that on the record.
Next item is 111 Blanket Meadow Road. I issued the notice of violation. I'm not going to read it. And the owner came in to meet with me with her attorney, and they were, they seemed to understand what the issues were. They are agreeing to submit an application to the commission. I actually had a meeting scheduled for tomorrow to meet with their professional that was gonna put together the plan, and that fell through. The professional, I guess the procurement of the professional fell through, and they're looking at a different one. So she's supposed to call me next week, but she also is very anxious to get this resolved. So, again, you need to indicate how many days to grant that.
I believe staying at the 60 unless they have requested otherwise.
Okay, so it'll be 60 days, and they also will be in to, and with any of these, the way it's worded, if they don't provide the application within the 60 days, we go ahead with the citation. All right, so that's it on the violations, and I guess you're on to other, which is
Cool.
nothing.
All right, so deliberations, we have a couple closed hearings from this agenda. Deliberate first on, we closed Gardner Road, right?
Yes.
Yes. So first one, we're deliberating on 54 Gardner Road, construction of a single-family dwelling and associated site improvements. For purposes of discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm not there yet.
Yes.
Move to approve with conditions.
We have a motion by Lois, a second by Jack.
Okay, let me go over my comments first.
Sure.
All right, so administrative come out, under technical, that the survey should include live certification on the final plans, that the restoration plantings and stabilization measures should be detailed from the area. I kind of quizzed him on that, if this is the one I'm remembering. And he indicated that what he verbalized tonight at the hearing was put down, and I guess it was in Exhibit 7.
Right.
So, assuming that you're okay with that, I guess the approval would be to implement the measures as detailed in Exhibit 7 and detailed at the hearing, testimony tonight.
Yes.
That was it for my comments. I recommended a $12,000 bond. And are you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. And with that, I'm looking for what else you want to add.
Okay, I have written down if the footing drain location were to change, they needed to come with a new permit application. That was from the first hearing.
Let me just interject here, the follow-up reporting, you want the typical 3-year follow-up reporting with the typical language?
Yes.
Yes, that includes invasives, right?
Yes.
A note about added buffer plantings and rain garden plantings. Did they submit an actual?
Yeah, they showed you the plan, and they said that it was in Exhibit 7. So I can get that on the final plans, yes.
also said that the, native, mature, healthy trees within the limit of disturbance, but not within the grading area, would be left. They would not be cut down.
Must leave, say it again?
Native, mature, healthy trees that are within the limit of disturbance, but not within the grading area. They said they would, that was offered.
That's all for you.
They had the markers on the plan, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah,
There's gonna be a fence, and they're gonna put the markers on the fence.
He said 75 feet or an angle point.
Yeah.
Right.
What
And,
we wanted-
which is what?
what we wanted anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to get them to all put it on their plans now.
That's great.
You kept repeating it, so it's getting on.
Look at me. That's all I have.
Oh, actually,
No lighting is to extend into wetland areas.
okay, are there any other conditions for the motion?
Before you have a motion, you gotta list the reasons why.
Just number two.
The applicant has provided, no, the applicant has provided substantial evidence, the proposal represents no adverse impact to the wetlands and water courses. Required application data has been submitted, and subsequent hearing testimony have provided to adequate document and verify the proposal in compliance with the requirements set forth by the Inland Wetlands Water Courses regulations.
And those were your typical ones, numbers what?
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
One.
All right. Now, the conditions are listed, the reasons are listed. You call a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Can you send me the letters or whatever letters with regard to one thing I know? I don't know if you.
All right, the next one that we closed today is regular hearing, no, sorry, is public hearing.
Send them to me, like, I do read them. Okay. Sometimes I catch stuff, sometimes. I don't.
46 Cutlers.
Did we close color hearing?
Yeah, no. No?
No, I don't think we closed 18.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, we did, yeah,
I
you
thought it was
did.
being closed.
Yep,
Never mind, I didn't take that.
$5,000 bond, sorry.
I missed my notes on that, sorry. Sorry, no, I typed it wrong. That was my fault. Typo. Okay. 46 Cutler's Farm, associated with construction of a single-family dwelling. You can go through your notes, but the only one I had was the wood chips and leaf litter to be put down on the tracks to stabilize.
You wanna make a motion and a...
Oh, yeah.
Motion to approve with conditions?
Thank you, Jason. Are you second?
I'm the second.
Okay, Jack has seconded that. So we'll start listing the conditions.
Okay, so my comments, informative, I believe, 1 and 2 are not applicable. Number 3, I think number 3 should be replaced with that, you know, you're, judging by what you guys were talking about, and what they were talking about, I'm gonna say that you were looking for the area of disturbance to be restored as presented with wood chips
Yep.
and leaf litter.
He said he was gonna chip the tree, right, that they took out? And Scott, you said there was 2 areas, right? He was referring to one, but you thought you saw another one?
Yeah,
Yeah, and the
At the
smaller
top of
one,
the
that's
property?
up further.
Yep.
And the wood chips and
Yeah,
culvert
they're
mixed
together,
together.
yeah.
okay, so wood chips and leaf litter, all right. Administrative, is 2 is a mood issue. 3, Note that the requirement. Really, 3 is a moot issue at this point. Survey, item technical 1, B, should stay in that you need certification on the final drawings. Number C, certification statement should include a reference to the accuracy, source of wetland depiction, and then wetland depiction. It's really a moot issue, so C would come out. And then I have written here, they will put wood chips and leaf litter in disturbed areas. They will restore the upland review area disturbance, that additional upland review area disturbance that they showed you with, well, I have that they agreed during the meeting that they would do that with tree plantings, deciduous trees. They didn't say what though.
Yeah, he didn't go into any detail. He was very reticent.
So what would you like on that?
Jeez, I'm drawing a blank for now.
If you're not real,
See, I
if
don't
you're not
think they
real,
really offered that.
well, he
They talked
did.
about it.
He
said
did, and
if
then you talked about.
If you want it, you can have it, is basically what he said.
Very reluctantly, but
Yes,
yes.
he definitely was reluctant
You
about it.
could just be kind of vague about it and say that the area, the upland review area disturbance shall be restored with the leaf litter and the wood chips and some.
He did offer a no-mow mix,
Yeah, okay.
so maybe if we went with the no-mow,
Yeah, they'll have some oaks and stuff blended in.
hopefully, yeah.
All right, so just go with the no-mow mix
No-mow.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
to be left in a
No-mow
natural
mix.
state.
Yep. And then we also offered the line of boulders along the limit of disturbance with the, was it?
Yep, that was my next one. Boulders to be placed along limit disturbance line, roughly measuring 3 feet in length by 2 foot in width, minimum size
No,
6
that was
square
a
feet.
minimum, right, okay, I was gonna say
And
minimum.
a minimum of 12 inches between,
Maximum.
No,
maximum.
No less than maximum.
no less than.
Right,
Yes.
No,
So
no
the-
more than.
right.
No, right.
Oh, no more
More
than,
than 12 inches apart, right.
No less than would be a brick wall.
no more than 12 inches between boulders, so that you can't get a mower through it.
And the rock should be, that 6 square feet is, on one face, is a minimum size.
And not just made.
Okay, and the bond recommendation was $5,000. And you want a,
Also, the markers are supposed to go in with the boulders. He said that would help.
markers
Yep.
with boulders. And do you want any kind of follow-up reporting? The plantings really are, there was no buffer plantings in this case.
No, there really isn't much.
So there's really no need, you just,
Right.
I just the inspection.
Necessary. I wish all of the applications came within 100 feet.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Our reasons are probably just number 3 on this one.
For the record, why don't you just, you should
I'll
really,
read it. Required application data has been submitted and subsequent hearing testimony and evidence has been provided to adequately document and verify that the application proposal is in compliance with the requirements as set forth by the current Monroe Town Monroe Wetlands and Watercourses Regulations and the Wetlands Watercourses Act pursuant to sections 22A-36, 22A-45, inclusive of the state of Connecticut general statutes as amended.
sometimes you look at something that doesn't.
I know, it's boulders. It's getting
Okay.
late too.
Having the reasons and the conditions, all that are in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Got postponed. Whispering Pines was closed? Yes, yes it was.
Yes, it was.
Motion to approve with conditions?
A motion by Jason.
All right, slow down, guys.
Don't get y'all up to speed.
That's something I don't usually say.
Let a motion, we need a second also. All right, we got a second by Peter Reed. This is IWC 2015-1553 Whispering Pines Road.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
That
Motion
was
made by
John,
Jason.
or Jason.
And second?
Peter.
Peter. Okay.
Okay, so, since you've made the motion and seconded it, my comments, informative are not applicable, administrative, there's nothing, technical survey, item 1C, that the manhole, needs to be, the approval, hold on a second. Since the proposal is to locate the manhole subsequent to the decision of the commission, the approval should be contingent on confirmation that the said manhole is within the easement such that no measurable changes to site layout will be necessary. That's the first one. The next one, I'm suggesting that, given the concerns about the use of the property for commercial reasons, even though the applicant indicated that they would not, it might be a good idea to just kind of reinforce the approval by providing a comment that there shall be no commercial use of the property. Within the upland review area.
Or storage. People can interpret a commercial use as being completely different than just storing things.
Well, I'll use the definition in the zoning regulations, and that limits, the zoning regulations limit use of residential property to the parking of one commercial vehicle
Right.
that is
You did have
below a
that down
certain
here somewhere.
size and doesn't have,
Oh, basically, that's number 5 then, what you're saying, in your
Yes.
technical.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll leave that in. I'll use the typical wording for the zoning. And then we move on to number 8. I believe you are accepting as part of their presentation, you found that acceptable, the berm that they were providing in the sedimentation. So 8 comes out. 9, they indicated they can do. The proposal for drainage piping should be, they need the label and size, and calculations need to be provided so I can verify the 1 inch of runoff. I believe they did the grading and other means to direct into the trench should be indicated. So I guess that portion of it can be removed, but the rest of it would stay in. And then we're looking at, I have a comment here, they agree to remove all invasives in the wetlands and the URA and address in the follow-up reporting for 3 years. Bond recommendation is $10,000. Do you have anything else that you want to add? That's all I have.
I had just a miscellaneous comment written down that they said that the rocks uncovered during the, whatever construction they're doing will be added to the wall. I don't know if that's something that's necessary to use as a condition.
Well, I don't see any harm.
Okay.
It is work happening in the upper review, so.
I didn't think they were doing anything.
Wasn't
They
there,
were just kind of leveling and then laying down gravel.
external
with the
lighting
pole barn on top of it.
Well, when they level, they could run into
Yeah, I
all
don't-
sorts of stuff too. So
Yeah, you might want to put something in there about prohibiting external lighting.
Yes, as
Yes.
offered, there will be no external
There
lighting.
was none proposed though. I mean, it's still saying.
Right,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they can't put it up later.
Yep.
External site lighting.
Yeah, because first thing some people do is put up a big security light,
There you go.
blind everybody.
Okay. Is there any other conditions?
I don't have anything more.
All right, the applicant provided substantial evidence that the proposal represents no adverse impact to the wetlands and water courses. Required application data has been submitted, and subsequent hearing testimony and evidence has been provided to adequately document and verify that the application/proposal is in compliance with the requirements as set forth by the current Town of Monroe Inland Wetlands Water Courses Regulations, the Inland Wetlands Water Courses Act pursuant of Section 22A-46, and 22A-45 inclusive of the Connecticut General Statutes as amended.
Numbers,
If you're gonna take numbers, then you don't get, I don't have to.
no,
read.
just,
Reading it for the
just like
record.
to get it out of the way.
I do for the record.
You don't get the record show, I still don't have.
Okay.
1-3. Oh, you're good? Okay. All that are in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. All right, I think everything else was, well, okay, so the rest was postponed except for 64 Cambridge, which was left open.
Right.
I don't believe we have any violation hearings that we want to deliberate on tonight, given our time frames on everything. So next is gonna be a bond release for IWC 2014-10, Longview Road, Samantha and Raphael Hammond, bond reduction request. Bahaman? I got
All right, can
close.
you get me that?
Yes, you did.
I'm not remembering it.
How much is the bond, how much is we reducing?
All right, we've got a bond for, the original bond was $8,000, and that is the current amount. The bond recommendation, it's a good question. This is a while. Give me a second here.
That's why Jack asked it.
Okay, it says bond reduction request.
Do we have a number?
Bear with me here.
You pack it up, you going somewhere?
Who's out of here? See you later.
You have to give me 5 minutes, Jason.
If he wants it. I'll be in here.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a binder?
No, the previous administration was. I just hope they will bring that information back.
Oh, wait. First one, we'll leak them out.
Did Jeremy pass his binder down?
Okay, all disturbed areas are stabilized. Everything appears to be in general conformance to the approved plan. Discuss the proper way to resolve the square foot with, they still have to remove the siltation control. As-built is acceptable. And unfortunately, I don't have anything else written there. Okay, wait a minute, here it is. Apparently, part of this thing was a shed and a deck, and they did not do that yet. And so the recommendation was to release $7,000 and hold $1,000, because that's the typical amount we would hold for a bond for placement of a shed. So that was the only reason for the holding the $1,000. So the recommendation is for a reduction from 8,000 to 1,000.
So moved.
We have a motion by Lois and a second by Jason. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, sorry it took me a while to get that one.
Time extension on IWC 2015-1, 505, 409, 515 Monroe Turnpike, 220 Cross Hill, New England, or TMC New England, and we received a letter about this asking for a 90-day request to file it on the land records, and there was another thing that they haven't done yet. Yeah, it's a CBS.
Yeah, letter dated November 11, 2015.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Lois, second by Jack. Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, let's see, that was just that was a 90-day, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any abstentions, or
As it
anybody?
requested.
Hold on, any nays? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, under reported activities, there's no general permits, no agent approvals, and there was nothing specific from the Public Works Department. They are, I'll tell you, they are starting the work on that. Last I heard, they were starting to work on that pipe on Garter Road that I told you about, replacing that, so you may hear about
I
that.
noticed the plate was gone. There used to be a big metal plate
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah, well, maybe that means they finished it. I haven't
Maybe.
talked to them real
I
recently.
drove probably there last week, and the plate was gone, so.
Okay, all right.
Cool. Violation inspection report, none. We're pending litigation was moved. from the
Pending
agenda.
litigation, there was an item on here for 207 Spring Hill Road, and I thought it was a throwback to the previous meeting, so I didn't think it was supposed to be on the agenda. Donna's telling me that there was something that Jack was asking about for 207 Spring Hill Road. I can't remember what it was. I sent him a text, and he didn't respond. So I was hoping he was gonna respond.
Yeah, of course it was in December.
He was gonna let us know.
Yeah.
The court date wasn't until December, wasn't it?
No, it was,
Was it November? Oh, it was this week.
that's why we used to have Russian have that special
Good.
session.
You know, I know that there was some back and forth with certain things that they were looking for. I thought we addressed everything in the executive session.
Well, we gave him a motion to act on our behalf.
Yeah.
So I don't know what would be outside of that.
So I'm not remembering if there might have been some minor item that came up as a result of that, going to court and doing that, but,
Well, you can always call another special meeting if you need it.
yeah, so I'm sorry,
I'm pretty sure today was the court date, was it not?
Yeah, that sounds right, that sounds.
The 18th.
I don't remember.
I know it was Ice Cream Social Media.
yeah, and he would have called me, if he didn't have what he needed, he would have called me. So I'm not remembering, so hopefully Donna's wrong in this case.
Donna's never wrong.
Yeah, I probably am. It's okay.
No.
But then again, I
I'll
do
take it
admit
for
that I'll
Whatever.
not always remember that.
Anyway.
So I don't have anything to report on that.
The discussions of completed violation hearings, we don't really have any, they're all pending applications. All right, so administrative review, IWV 2015-21.
Okay, so, that is for 36 Garter Road.
Oh, yesterday.
Should go with it.
You should have that in your packet. And you wanna, write that,
I'm sorry, Scott, just going back. Jack just checked, the court date was yesterday.
okay,
So could today have possibly been him telling us that he filed his,
no. And if he needed something for the court date, if I didn't give it to him, he would have called me again. So,
no, but he said that he was gonna request that the other attorney file his withdrawal.
yeah, once
Within 24 hours, so is that the case?
No, I haven't seen it, and he hasn't asked me to. And I don't believe I need to come to you for that. I would just go and file it on the record, so. I think we're okay with it. All right, so now we moved on to 36 Garter Road. This is, origin is identified while reviewing the application that you just approved, the house on Garter Road. While I was reviewing that application, I noticed that the house next door to this property, I guess to the south of it, right?
To the southeast.
Southeast of this property, has some issues. And basically, they're encroaching into the established lawn into the regulated upland review area. They've got an encroachment within 150 feet of a named water course, that's the Paquonic River, I guess. And they've got an encroachment that extends into the town property and open space. As you can see on the plan, here's the property here. We've got Garter Road out here, and trying to get my bearings here. The water course is in the front area, and their driveway comes in along here. And here, the orange is the property line. The red is the upland review areas. The purple is the limit of disturbance. And the shaded area is the area that they've encroached upon. So there's a sliver of area out in in the front of the property where they've cleared, I think they've cleared and established lawn area here within the wetland. And then this purple area is an area that they've encroached with their lawn into the town property and the open space and the upland review area. The pictures are here, so you can see this is a thinned out, filled and then, not filled, but lawn established and a thinned out area of woods here. And then the area over here.
And that
this
was
is,
wetland, that area that you just spoke of?
This is wetlands over here by the map, anyway. This is one, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but this is one where we have another plan showing what was approved when they built the house.
We do not have an approved limit of disturbance that went along with this.
Okay.
That's why you do not see it on this plan.
Okay, so the purple area then, approximate limit of disturbance, how did you guys come up with that?
The approximate limit of disturbance?
Yeah, this purple area.
You have to, by the way, just to get this in there, for the record, my name is David McCollum, I'm the Town of Monroe Wetlands Inspector. Go to, scroll down and review the pictometry, if you would. And just keep rotating through the images that you see. Okay, I think this image here, Commission, if you guys agree that Garter Road is to your bottom right-hand corner there.
Here's a driveway.
So, in other words, this is just a 180 of what you just saw. If you scroll up just a little bit, Scott, that cleared area you see right above where the cursor is, right there, that is roughly the area that correlates to the purple shaded area that you saw on the proposed violations map.
Yeah, I see that, but what I'm asking is, what is this purple line? I mean, if you don't have a...
That delineates what we were able to decipher as the edge of the established lawn.
The
At
edge
one
of...
point?
At the current juncture in time with this, at what this
Okay,
photo was taken.
so limit of development, that's
Right.
what they've developed.
Right.
Okay, so we don't have a plan that was done originally, but just by looking at it today, that's what's developed. And basically what you're saying is, do we know when the house was built?
There should be, on the violation sheet, there should be a
1994.
Okay, so there should be a wetlands approval for the house construction.
There's definitely a lot of wetlands.
Do we have, we have a file on that, it's one of the ones you brought to me, right?
That was for a different one. In reviewing the index, I was not able to locate a file for wetlands approval. I can check again.
Well, I mean, it is possible there isn't one. I mean, I'm finding that there were houses built without going to wetlands. Especially if they weren't in the wetland, and it looks like when they built this house, well, it certainly does look like they were in wetlands. I mean, their driveway goes right through the middle of the wetland. So it is kind of, it's kind of odd that there isn't a wetlands approval for it. So we can double check on that.
Those folders.
Yes.
We don't, you didn't do a folder on that? Was,
I have the, what do you mean, I have the?
that, is that the one you went to get before the meeting?
No.
No, the folder I got for you was the violations folder.
Yeah.
I don't have an approval folder because I wasn't able to find it in the record.
So there should be a violations folder in the,
Well, here is 22. Oh,
so we're looking for 36 Garden.
That's what you
Yes,
have right
okay,
there.
I got it. She got it.
sorry, I got confused.
That's all right, it's getting late.
I'm sorry.
All right, so, so we will, I'll have them double check, but apparently they didn't pick it up on the first run.
This one looks like it might be worthy of a drive-by because this flat image that we see from above could be very misleading. Many of the properties on Gardner Road are way up there.
Yeah.
And it would be, if nothing else, a drive-by,
Yeah,
just to
'cause
see
it also
if it's-
seems interesting that that
You're
part of the
not-
property, although it looks cleared, it's a totally different color than the one in front of the house. So I don't know.
Well,
if I buy it's fully cleared.
unfortunately, you're not gonna see it from a drive-by, you can't see it from the
No, but you
street.
can tell whether or not how the contours go.
Well,
It's pretty open right now until the tree cover's gone.
yeah, we can give you that information, the contours, this is a flat area. You're thinking of down the street where it's really
Well, this
steep.
is this is a flat area,
This is right
Okay.
next door to the one you just approved.
which I don't have a visual image of either.
It was very
So-
flat.
No, okay.
The only thing that.
And the river's here, so you've got a floodplain, if you will, that's associated
Mhm.
with the river. And one thing that's not on here is the floodplain, actually. That's another item that would be useful to know, because that would help as well. But, yeah, so this is all pretty flat.
Okay.
The only thing that could be terraced, if I may just add that comment, is there's that retaining wall along the front edge of the house there, that bow
Right.
shape.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I wouldn't see anything that would infer that the property is sloped. It should be.
Okay.
I mean,
sloped.
normally I'd say you could, this is town property, you walk in on the town property. The trouble is you can't walk in because there's a river there.
Yeah.
You
Right,
get
yeah.
past the river.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be the first river that Lois forded for.
So here's the thing, if you agree that this looks like, I mean, what concerns me is the fact that they're encroaching into the
Town property,
too.
that's the
So,
most important.
If you agree that it's fairly egregious, at least it appears that way, you know, all you're doing tonight is telling me whether you think I should issue a notice of violation.
I'd say probably issue notice and then make sure we have all our facts by the.
Yeah, bring them in, see what they have to say.
Have a show cause, yep.
All right, so, let me just say, and you wanted, what are we supposed to be doing here? We're supposed to be
36 Gardner.
verifying no IWC file on this with some question marks. And then was there something else you wanted me to do?
Pre-seventies?
I'm gonna say, get floodplain info. Was there anything else? So, we'll verify that, and then I'll issue the notice of violation, and we'll see what they have to say.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Okay, next thing is 65 Scenic Hill Lane.
Well,
That is 2015-22. What is it, 65 Scenic Hill?
Scenic Hill Lane, it's right in the middle. There you go.
Oh.
What is it, these people in the
All right,
conservation
so
easements?
this one, the property owner sought a permit to install a generator. Review of the property showed potential wetland violations.
The property owner came in mid to late August asking about what permits he would need to install a generator. Staff within the office reviewed just an aerial overlay of what was going on in his property and observed that he had pretty much constructed a shed on the edge of a wetlands boundary. If you go to the...
Well, I'm reading this thing here, it's talking about the finished basement, there's a CO, there's a deck and fence CO. I don't quite understand why it says finished basement and not house there, but, and then in-ground swimming pool, the CO was not applicable, I don't know.
The building permit, the first building permit was for a finished basement, okay, so that's inside. The second building permit was for the construction of a deck, staircase, and a fence around the rear portion of their property. They got COs for both of those. The last building permit was for the construction of an in-ground swimming pool. There was an agent approval in association with that, which got signed off. Scott had given its final signature back in 2009, if I recall correctly. The CO for that building permit was not applicable because there were no certificates of completions for swimming pools in 2014. This building permit was applied for back in 2008, I think. Oh, the final inspection for the agent approval was completed in 2010. So the construction of the shed that we saw, which is in the description of the violation, that occurred after the swimming pool was built. Our photometry and imagery indicates that the shed was built. It's existed at least since March 2012. So it was built after the swimming pool, which is why we would not have seen it there when we went out there the last time.
This is Infante, okay.
Yes, it is.
All right, so what we have is,
We've seen him before. Haven't we had him in front of us before, Infante?
Infante is the owner of the place on Enterprise Drive that got built.
Maybe
I
that's why I
think this is
recognize
a
the name,
different
but I
Infante.
definitely recognize
No, it's the
name.
same, this is
It's
his.
Michael, right? Yeah.
This is his son.
Oh, okay.
So the father has come in and talked to me about this, so
Yeah.
you've dealt with the father. This is as you go
Okay.
up Enterprise Drive, it's on the right. That's the father's place.
Okay.
And he's actually coming in with an application soon, so you'll see him again.
Different.
But anyway, his son's involved with this property, and so we're talking about a shed, unpermitted clearing and grubbing within a regulated area, and the activities have occurred beyond the previously approved limits of disturbance. All right, let's cut to this, and I think it'll,
Yeah, forgive me, I didn't realize that last drawing there hadn't been rotated. If you just rotate view,
oh, yeah,
you
okay,
did it right.
thought I did.
Okay.
All right, so what we got here is, it always looks so nice on my computer. I can't see it. All right, so what happened was, it was a gray area here, and there was an agent approval issued for the pool. Basically, what happened was there's a conservation easement line, that's this yellow line. And the yard had been established to the limits of the conservation easement. It wasn't real clear what areas were permitted to be developed or not, but clearly the conservation easement wasn't.
Right.
What they've got here is they got a pool that they got a permit for. They have a septic system which the pipe comes across the brook here and is built in this upland area over here. So the leaching area is over here.
Oh, wow.
So this is all lawn. You got lawn in this area here. That way back, I guess this was wetlands, and they built the house. So what they did was they cleared this area. This whole purple area here has been cleared. And this area over here, I don't know why this isn't shaded in purple, but the purple area should come back into here as well, because this was lawn established back there as well. So what we're saying is that that shed clearly was placed in a conservation easement, that needs to be removed. And this whole purple area and this area over here and this area over here was all areas that were cleared that didn't have permission to get cleared.
What was it cleared for?
What was it, what?
What, did they just put grass down?
Yeah, it's lawn, so, well, now I gotta,
If I'm not
you
mistaken.
turn your head sideways, you can see it's all lawn. See how the lawn goes way back here?
If I'm not mistaken, there was an inland wetlands permit associated with the construction of the house
This
that
is the
was issued in 1996. I think part of their conditions of approval was to install plantings along the water course.
And they did that, so I got, supposedly, talking to the father, they did put the plants in. I haven't seen them. Did you guys see anything?
I have not been out to the site
Oh.
myself, and I couldn't review from this.
Okay.
It's too hard to tell, just,
And they did that clearing after they built the house?
I'm
Or we
assuming,
don't know.
I'm assuming the clearing was done concurrently, but I could be mistaken.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase on this thing. I met with the father, and he acknowledged that, I told him, I'm gonna bring this before the commission, you're most likely gonna get a notice of violation. He said, okay, I wanna resolve this, so we'll come in with, no, he didn't say the commit, this one, I think we talked about doing an agent approval. He's saying what they'd like to do is there's a fence that runs across here. He'd like to keep this fence along the conservation easement and then put something in here. I think he was talking fence too, over here and over here, the fence or boulders. And then putting in markers to say that it's a regulated area. Take the shed and move it out of the regulated area. We were talking about putting it over here next to the driveway, and then putting in trees or shrubs in this area here for restoration.
Wasn't there, I don't think it was fence across that water course, didn't you mention boulders or something else like that to prevent them from going in the back?
Yeah, but I think there's a fence here, and we talked about maybe boulders over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't
Sounds good.
need to issue a notice of violation.
No, you need to issue a
We
notice
need
of
to,
violation
right.
for the record.
Right, okay,
And then
And
they'll come
then-
forward with an application.
with the understanding
Agent
that they're
approval.
bringing an application.
But is it an agent?
Well,
If they're
I don't-
moving the shed out of the conservation easement, then we probably do an agent approval, right?
well, here's the thing, do you wanna talk to them first before you decide whether or not we go with the agent approval or the application? Because that's not a bad idea, you can do that.
Because
Yeah.
that would make Scott have to approve a planting plan,
Yes, yeah.
and that there's
That's true,
more
in a
involved.
conservation easement.
Exactly, there's more involved here than I think his job should entail.
Okay.
It should be more on our
Okay, we don't want to put
responsibility.
anything on his shoulders.
Well, he's got enough on him,
He's got enough there.
so it's our job.
of violation,
Well, I mean,
ask him to report.
Well, you've been
I
in
think you have the
communication
guidance.
with him, right?
yeah,
Yes.
they could bring in an application. I don't know if they have to come to us, if they are willing to do what
You
we're
don't have to
talking about.
go, I mean, I could issue a notice of violation, and you can tell me that you do wanna speak to him.
Yeah.
It could just be that. And then he'll have to come in, and you decide at that point whether you want an agent approval or an application.
I mean, not for nothing, if he wants to pick up the process, which, if he wants to speed up the process, I'm not, and he wants to bring in an application to the commission.
If he wants to bring an application, we'll handle it like we do all the rest of them. We're
Right.
gonna say, look, he got a notice of violation, he agreed that he's gonna,
And that's the presentation as far as I'm
if he
hearing.
doesn't wanna do the application to
Then
the
he should
commission,
come
then
forward
he
and
needs to
present.
come.
Right, but if he's gonna do an application anyway, still issue the notice, but just get him started on the application, that way we
Yep.
don't waste anybody else's time.
Agreed.
All right, so, all right, got it.
Okay, we got some pendings. while Scott's taking notes, has anybody had a chance to visit 104 Stanley or 38 Webster?
I got to 104 Stanley. 38, we didn't have the phone number for.
Can I just ask before I leave this? So he's either gonna come before the commission or he's gonna file a application within 60 days, correct?
Yeah.
What?
I said yes.
Yes, it sounded like you said no.
I'm sorry, I meant to say yeah. Went a little yokel.
All right, so go ahead,
Okay, so it sounds like we need the phone number for 38 Stanley. I'm sorry, 38 Web.
Yeah, 38 Web, we do.
We don't have a number for it.
Right, pull up. That's not in the file.
It's not in the violation. So if we get the phone number for them, we can visit them. Has anybody else visited any of the sites?
I don't, which sites are still pending site visits?
So,
Just those
Can
two.
you
is
pull
there-
up
88 Elm also, I have one
Web.
on it. That's-
104 is the one with the long gravel driveway with
It's
the wall.
it's the airstrip.
The airstrip, yes.
Okay.
And I confess that I still haven't worked out the,
You were supposed
conflict.
to, you were supposed to work up the boundaries of the conservation
Yeah.
easement with Bjorkland.
Which one are we?
Yeah, and it's really Jason Spath, and I have to call him, and you
Oh, that
guys,
is it, yeah.
you guys have gotta do your
I
inspection.
walked it today. That wall, there's gotta be a 6-foot drop off the side of that wall.
Off the runway?
Yep, on this, to the left of it. Maybe not 6 feet, but I didn't stand there and peer over, but there was a significant drop, so it's been built up. And what doesn't show on that picture is at the end of that driveway where the blue line ends is a big shed.
No, it's right.
Oh, there is
That's-
that, okay, I'm
There's
saying,
three- there's three of them.
There's actually.
Well, no, it's, there's 2 sheds and there's an enclosed area. That's what that
yes,
third one looks
Mhm.
like there, the furthest one
it's a
up.
dog run.
Dog run.
Yeah, and that pond is a vernal pool.
Which one?
The
The
pond in the far,
pond is
right
right
there,
at the edge.
right where the yellow and the pink and the orange
Do you have
line
the-
meet.
Do you have the pointer of the mouse, Scott? I can.
Just off center on the bottom,
The
left.
pointer, the pond itself is right here.
Yeah.
That's a pond.
Looks like a
So he cleared the area that was,
The area that's been is right on this edge here, right,
Mhm.
Lois?
yes,
And to be honest with you, I don't, there's no way that this plan is off that much, where
Well,
he's, where
if
he's,
he should have, if he said he followed the markers by the engineers, he should have this plan.
that, you're right, yeah.
So he should be able to furnish it, and if it's the engineers that screwed up, then, and if it isn't, I still don't know what to do. The thing is a marvel.
it's-
It's gorgeous. I mean, he did a beautiful job on it. The house is for sale, by the way.
Right, we knew that.
You did know that? I didn't know.
I didn't know.
There's no
No,
for
I
sale
did
sign
not.
out in front.
There is no?
I didn't see one,
No,
unless I missed it.
I think they testified that it was for sale.
Okay, okay.
It's one of the reasons they wanted to get this taken care of. I
And,
think it's gonna end up being one of those.
he
you
said
can't
it
really
was,
move
he said it was just brushy stuff, that was along the side of the pool, the pond as he calls it. And, that his kids would go down there and get covered with ticks and stuff, so he just cleared that out and just kind of pushed them over to the side. But it's clearly not on his property.
Right.
So, he doesn't really have that. In
Right.
fact, a lot of that stuff, including that shed, I don't know how he's gonna move it.
Is that a
Um,
helicopter?
I mean, it's clearly, the plan can't be, it's an aerial photograph, so it can't be off that much.
No,
You know, it just, I'll touch base with them, but.
I don't know how that, I don't know
Where-
how to
I mean,
rectify
you're
this.
You're at the point where you were deciding whether or not they should be submitting an application.
I think they at least need an application to clean up so my understanding is, from what Lois has testified, is that that airstrip, if we remove it, is gonna be worse than if we,
No,
Yeah,
hold on
well,
a second. It's in the conservation easement.
is the blue line a conservation easement?
Yeah.
Right, so the conservation easement is anything on this side
We need to stop changing colors
of
of
that blue
lines.
line.
Oh, that's right, he was saying that he put the wall on the conservation easement line, that's.
Well, he considered that, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the plan,
Well,
the
yeah.
plan
Right.
has gone off.
He did submit, if I do recall correctly, he submitted a plan at the last meeting,
That's
and
right.
I don't think this stone wall was
This is,
ever
104
referenced
stone.
on it. So I think that's what, another thing that Scott was gonna talk about with Spath too.
But I don't know what
It
we,
should have been
I don't know
submitted
what we
as
should
a.
do. The thing is huge. It will cost him tens of thousands of dollars to remove that.
It's
I mean, granted, that's his problem because he did it, but, and I got the impression he built the whole thing from
Yeah.
scratch.
Well,
Maybe
here,
he would make a recommendation, you know,
And you- We can't do that for conservation easement. We're not in the land sale business, you know?
well, it'd be town council that allowed him to do it.
just seems like
I don't even know if they can do it
is,
because it's prohibited,
I
period.
mean, Scott, we don't wanna send you spinning. Do we wanna just, we'll review this again next meeting?
Well,
Because if we don't have the data, we don't have the data.
well, do we have enough information to say to them that it's a violation and you want an application submitted?
I think we want an application, if anything, just to clean up the side of the driveway, put a, just restore a buffer,
And get him off of the town property.
get them off town property.
But I don't know what we can do about that conservation easement.
But I
Well,
think,
here-
I think the
let's
conservation
back-
easement has to be a separate topic.
Let's
we
back
can't-
up,
we
let's
can't
back,
do anything
let's back up a minute, right?
about
Now, what's happening with the conservation easements, as you know, is that the town's kind of taking the back seat on them.
Mhm.
If the conservation easement is within your upland review area, you can
Right.
do everything with that. And conservation easements come about as part of the approvals for wetlands or the approvals for P and Z. So they are under your purview
Well, can you
indi-
change them?
indirectly.
Can
You
change-
cannot do anything in a conservation easement, it's a prohibitive area.
So are we required to have that removed?
I believe we are, because the town is the holder of the conservation easement, and if it's not allowed, one must say to them, look, you need to remove it. I mean, I don't, yeah, you feel bad, someone builds something that's expensive and fairly nice looking, but it's like, they didn't ask for permission, and we got a problem, it's in the conservation easement. And if they have proof that it's not, then their plan, they should submit a plan which shows that they're not encroaching on it.
I
But,
think we need to see that alleged plan, whatever.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's sort of
yeah.
That's really the
I
start,
mean,
yeah, we can't really tell them to remove
If
it if
that's
we don't
a-
see the plan.
So he got a survey of the property, but didn't get permission from the town when he did the wall?
What David was saying is the survey he has doesn't have the driveway.
Okay.
So he's saying that they located pins to guide where he put the second driveway.
Mhm.
But,
And that plan has a conservation easement in a different
Right.
place.
well, no, I think it's still the same place, I mean, as far as the maps go, but I think the question is, I mean, it's still a good 10, 20 feet.
Yeah,
I
to
thought
your-
he was saying it was over, it was,
He's saying that the engineer told him that he put the wall right on the conservation.
right, that's, so
Mhm.
so
And we are
presumably the
clearly
plan
saying
showed it.
not
It's
so much.
saying it's more
Right.
10 to 15 feet.
So I think we need to just see whatever that plan is.
I mean.
It wouldn't hurt to walk it if you guys can do it. He said he's not at home next week, but after that he's available. And it really, I think it does, it gives you such a different perspective.
Is it
It's really
possible just to
amazing.
have him have a surveyor locate, like, give us a T2 survey? I mean, it's not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than
You,
that
you
driveway.
gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta stay within the parameters. If you issued a notice of
Right.
violation, you said they come before you, you gotta decide what you want for resolution now.
How do we resolve if we don't know what we're looking at? I mean, I think that's kind of the problem, no?
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Testifying that it's not in the conservation easement, and the town is testifying that it is.
All right, so I could do this, I could contact them and say, look, you guys have looked at this and you're going to be requiring that they submit an application to the commission. You're gonna require the application regardless.
That's what I'm saying.
So why not require the application? And then when they come in with the application, your applications require an A2 survey,
Fair.
right?
Yep, so I will locate it.
I mean, you did give people a break on a lot of these. I mean, you guys really bend over a lot for people and compromise. But when you say to someone that they gotta come in with an application, there's specific requirements
Yes.
for applications. A lot of these, the people aren't doing it to the full degree, but occasionally you might get one like this where it's like, hey, you're right, it looks like you're over the property line. In this case, we want the full, everything you need to submit for an application for this
Yep.
thing. Now, we issued the notice of violation,
Yes,
they
we
did
did.
not, I'm thinking the citation.
No, Mr. Ramos and his wife both showed up here
Yeah,
and
they
discussed
both showed up,
extensively with us.
Yep,
And you do have to call them because there's a gate at the end of the driveway, and you can't get in without it.
so what happens is, if I
On the
get
bike-
back to
by
an
the road.
applicant and I say, the commission decided on application has to be submitted to the commission. If the applicant either doesn't submit the application, or they say to me, we're not gonna do that, then I think what we need to do in that case is we issue an order
Right.
to submit an application. If you issue an order, then there's a show cause hearing and an ability to appeal it.
Right.
And then it goes a different route. We've never done that yet. We've just been dealing with notices of violation. If you read in your regs, there's two different options, a notice of violation and an order. And the order is much more detailed. There's a schedule, there's certain things that we have to do to stay right within the legal parameters.
Regardless, if he's saying the conservation easement is on the wall, or what we're saying is, he did all this work without doing review without approval anyway.
Right,
So there's a violation one way or the other.
right.
It just depends on how egregious it is.
Right, yeah.
Right, and as
So-
part of his application, you can resolve the conservation easement issue by looking at the plans that he brings in.
Yes. All right, I think we came up with a plan.
Okay,
You're good?
so submit an application.
Submit an application. And that's for 104 Stanley.
And the old plans that he used to determine that line would be really, really helpful.
Well, where I agree with you, I think seeing a new A2 survey is more important.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I just want to, because I have a tendency to lean toward the homeowner and say, well, it's very possible that he did believe the engineer, and he did believe that he put it, not that he is right in doing so, but it gives you a slightly different feeling about what
It's coming through the
transpired.
So that's the shed.
He still does the shed.
Shed and the brush clearing on the
Yeah.
far side. All right, so 38 Webb Circle, none of us have viewed, so.
And they were supposed to submit a report by this meeting
Yes, they were. They were
about the
supposed-
bamboo.
They were supposed to submit a report from a certified professional regarding the presence of bamboo.
Right,
They
and what
wanted
kind
to.
of bamboo it
Right,
was.
that's-
We're on 38 Web now.
Yes, yeah.
So can we send a letter to them? We'll give them, how long do you want to give them?
One
as
more
a
meeting.
warning? Huh?
One more meeting.
One more
3
meeting, so
weeks.
by the December 9th meeting, they should give us the report, they're supposed to give us this meeting.
Or they're in violation and they start the clock.
Well,
They
yeah,
start the,
citation.
So it's a
Citation
report
process.
on the type of bamboo.
Yeah, whether it's a
and remediation measures.
running bamboo.
Now we can blow.
Well, wait a second.
Wait.
And remediation measures,
Well, I
that's
just
something
said
you
that.
would get as part of an application or something
Yeah.
like that. This is
Well, I
just
mean, from the-
deciding
from
the
the-
process.
We've already, yeah, we needed to find out what kind of bamboo it was. That
Okay,
was
so
the-
they
that
need to
was
tell us
the-
what kind of bamboo, and you guys
By
need
an
the phone number so
appropriate
you can do an
professional.
inspection.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. We're all good with that one. All
Yep.
right, so that's all of our administrative reviews.
You know what we could do in the future is, when we have the applicant there, they don't have to recite their number on the record, but they could write it on a piece of paper and hand it to Donna at that time.
We've been telling them to come up to Donna and give it to them.
Okay, because somehow this one got missed.
We missed one.
So, yeah.
Not a big deal.
We're-
All right, next item is general discussion / other, and I believe, Scott, you had a couple things you wanted to cover under this?
I just wanted to briefly talk to the commission about digital plans. We've got the Chromebooks that no one seems to be using. Oh, there's one out, okay.
Fully utilize it.
I'm sorry. My question to the commission is there any potential for you guys to utilize digital format applications
Yes.
and drawings
Yes.
in lieu of the
Yes.
plan?
Yes.
In lieu of,
Yes.
in lieu
Yes.
of?
Well, here's what I would think.
Not for me.
And have you tried doing that? Because it's hard to, I myself need a plan.
I need the,
And sometimes it's hard, but on the other hand, you're commissioners, you're kind of a different role. So what I'm asking is, if the commission said to me, we'd rather get, instead of the packet that you get with hard copies, you would get, all you would do is you would log on to the town website, you'd go to in the Wetlands page, and you'd click on the application. And we would upload the application on there. And then you can utilize that information on the Chromebook, and you can utilize it on your computer at home. We would get 2 full-size plans that would get distributed to the commission. So there'd be 2 full sets out during the hearing. You wouldn't get anything ahead of time. Would something like that work for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For me, it was.
Everybody else.
nope, it would not work for me. I
Okay.
need to see the big picture. Well, you can't,
And
you know,
I
on a
understand,
computer
I understand
screen,
what you're
that
saying.
you can't see the whole thing.
We've got 27 inch
Right.
monitor.
And I think that,
Even that size wouldn't be big enough.
and I'm gonna
It's
guess that, Lois has experience with that, and the average person says, yeah, give it to me in digital, but it is hard to see everything, because you have to like scroll around and without seeing the, and then when you look at the whole plan, it's so small that you can't see anything. And it's
Right,
like-
exactly.
But, so, maybe what we could do is, we have to think this
You
through,
let
but
everybody else look at
maybe,
digital and just get.
maybe
a
what we
sense.
could do is, we'll try to get you
The
guys,
one
If
set,
you
yeah.
can get the digital plans,
yeah, we're gonna try to get you a digital plan, a digital
Yeah.
file for one of the applications coming up, just to play with. And what we'll do is we'll send it to you,
yes,
or we'll upload it and we'll try it.
yes.
We'll put an
We'll wait to
application
try.
on their website, and then we'll revisit this and I'll ask again. Because we're trying to come up with a solution, and that's one of the things we've been talking
Save
Because
the
I think
choice.
if all of the paperwork comes through in digital format, then we end up printing it out so that we can make
No, there
comments
isn't-
on it.
Yeah,
But if you need to bring, I mean, when I read a report or something, I'm making notes on it, I'm asking questions, I'm
Well,
writing down
you-
my questions. I can't do that on a piece of digital, so I have to print it out, so
well,
now
what
my
I'm,
printer.
what I'm suggesting is you make notes on a piece of paper that are your notes.
Don't write,
Or just a note.
And then when you get
Instead
here,
of,
you're logging into the town website and you call up the plan on your computer. So you,
maybe I'm just, because I'm old and old fashioned.
I'm not, you're not getting pressured into anything, I'm just asking about it.
Have you,
I'm old and old fashioned.
I'd like to give it a shot, Scott, so I think you're
I'll
on the
give it a
right.
try, I'll give it a try, but I
You don't have
just.
to try
I can't
those,
see.
jeez, so here's the thing.
That's what I said.
Give it
I'll do it. I can if I can.
He's gonna push Jack right
No,
off.
but I think there's a middle ground, right? So maybe not the A2 survey or the big maps, but maybe a whole bunch of them we can get digitally, you know what I mean? there might be good, like, 1 or 2 maps that we get.
All right, so
Yeah,
let's not even go any further. We're gonna try to play with it a little bit. We'll try to get the information. You can play with it, and then we'll figure out. We don't have to do
We may not
it.
need all 22 pages in a set, for instance, or.
Well, yeah, we have to figure out something that, because we have to
We're just
advertise.
Right, we're trying
You know,
to
we-
figure out a way to streamline things
Yeah.
a little
I can
bit.
understand.
Right now, we're making people submit, X number of plans. And we can't say, well, give us 3 of those sheets or 10 of those sheets and none of these.
Sure.
It's gotta be all or nothing.
This
So
number much.
we gotta come up with a system that works.
Scott, any idea what other municipalities do?
I would guess that would be extremely rare. I'm hearing that is like, no one does that.
We are
And it's like, to
way-
me, it's a no-brainer. Why aren't they doing
We are way
it?
past what a lot of.
Well, I mean,
commissions do.
having the digital copies can't be that big a deal because we have it.
Okay,
Right.
that
Most
is
of
a
the
lot.
stuff,
That's a
right?
lot.
Well, no, actually, we have to change how we do things. We have to get that from the applicant.
A lot of times they bring in the USB drive of the day.
Yeah, you have some stuff because we make a scan of it, but you're not, it's not everything. But we can do that, but we're just trying to feel our way. And I'm interested in hearing what your input is.
I would love to see, you know what, I don't have as much experience as you in reading plans, so I would love to see how it works digitally first.
Okay.
Before I make up my mind, so I think you're on the right track there.
Okay, so we'll get you something to play with, and we'll talk about it. All right, that's that. And then the second thing is, how many of you, hey, I want to get home. How many of you have taken the course, the training course?
Online.
And where are you with it? You took the whole training course?
I just did one, I just finished today, but I think it's an older version. I think
Okay.
there's, I realized at the end they're calling it DEP, so I'm guessing it's not DEP.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
It might be the same one, because I don't think they've
Yeah,
changed it.
that's
Since
okay.
they recorded it, I don't
Yeah.
think they changed it.
Okay, so,
So the one that's on there right now is.
so you haven't done
I
it.
haven't yet, I was
All right, well,
Googling it.
Donna's trying to put together some training with, what's the,
It's clear.
It's
through
Yukon Clear. It's
Right.
conservation and
Land
land.
and
Education.
Yes.
all right, are you guys interested in taking, going to a,
It would probably be in the evening. It would be, what I'm hoping to do is coordinate with other towns and have them come here, present it at the library, because everybody just had their elections, so every town has new commission members. It would be open to all commissions, not just inland wetlands. It's the basics of it. And then if there were interest and a need, there are advanced training courses that we could do. And if we had enough interest, again, they would come and provide that to us. So I'm hopefully, I have to call, the director and I have been emailing today, so I have to actually have a conversation with them tomorrow. And I'm looking at trying for either January or February to do the training.
If I could just chime in real quick. Peter, were you talking about the Municipal Inland Wetland Commissioners Training Program that's administered through DEEP?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think that's the same, I don't know. if
no,
that's
it's not,
It's not the
it's
same.
not.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
different, different things.
Yep, there's a lot of.
All right, so keep that open, we're gonna be doing that soon, and,
Sounds great.
let's
Sounds
go to
great,
the,
those things are great. And I love the question answers, answers afterwards, Peter.
okay, that's it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Sorry.
Wait, let's let Jack do his last one.
Do you have anything else? No? Okay.
Oh, you said it if you did.
What I'd like to say first is that I enjoyed my incarceration, I mean, my time on the commission.
A long incarceration.
And, well, it was,
The volunteer incarceration.
I think I'm leaving it in good hands, and I wish you all well.
And the same to you, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Jack, second by Jason. All in favor? Opposed? Passes.
Jack, you're welcome to come back anytime you
Yeah,
want.
anytime.
Thank you,
Come visit
Jack.
us.
We got a couple openings on the board. If you're interested.
Want to be an alternate?
I can't hear you.
And I just want to note for the record, I did close the meeting before 11 o'clock.